Chapter 1192. Since he could not stay in an inn, Liang could only stay in a commoner's house. A commoner's house was not good, but at least Ning Shu and the rest had a place to rest. Liang only said that he wanted to join the Yin Yang sect, but he did not have enough spirit stones to stay in an inn. Only then did the owner allow Liang to stay. The house arranged for him was small, but Liang was very satisfied. Ning Shu said to Liang, "Take out the blood soul flag." Liang took out the blood soul flag and put it aside. Ning Shu's consciousness entered the blood soul flag. Endless black smoke was rolling in the blood soul flag, and it was filled with all kinds of dark and desperate emotions. Ning Shu checked the situation inside. The black smoke souls were a killing machine. It would be a disaster no matter who got their hands on it. Ning Shu wanted to purify these souls and disperse the yin qi. Most importantly, he did not want Liang to use the blood soul flag. Once he was stained with the pleasure of reaping without sowing, he would not be able to stop himself. He would be powerful as long as he killed people, and he would not be able to control his mind. However, there were many souls inside. They were filled with resentment and despair, and the yin qi was their protection and nourishment. It would then devour souls and attack people, and the yin qi would become denser. Ning Shu retracted his consciousness and set up a yang gathering formation. He could only take it slow. Ning Shu lay on the ground, closed his eyes, and started chanting. When a Maoshan Taoist priest succeeded in purifying the soul, a black hole would appear and suck the soul away. However, the souls in the blood soul flag were difficult to purify. The dense yin qi was the biggest problem. Liang brought the little fox out to buy some food and gather some information. The closer they got to the Yin Yang sect, the more depressed Liang became. He was filled with anticipation and a strong sense of uneasiness. He hoped that his sister was not in the Yin Yang sect and would not be used as a cultivation vessel, but he was also afraid that his sister was already a cultivation vessel. With the Yin Yang sect style, they would not care about age if they could use a woman as a cultivation vessel. Liang's heart was in torment every day since they set off. The more he heard about the sect, the more anxious he became. Liang regretted killing Xingjie so easily. He should have tortured Xingjie. He sent his younger sister to the Yin Yang sect, which was simply a hell on earth for women. Regardless of whether the woman was willing to go in or not, she would become a cultivation tool for the Yin Yang sect disciples. Liang hugged the dirty little fox and asked around in the taverns and tea houses. He wanted to know more about the Yin Yang sect and its specific location. This town was the closest to the Yin Yang sect. Liang listened for half a day, but it was all useless news. Most of the men were talking about how lucky the disciples of the Yin Yang sect were. They were strong and had beautiful women. There were also some dirty words mixed in. Liang bought some food for Ning Shu and was about to go back when he saw the old beggar squatting at the corner of the street. Liang took out a piece of silver and threw it into the old beggar's broken bowl. The old beggar opened his eyes and saw the silver in the bowl. He thanked Liang profusely. "Old man, how many years have you been in this town?" Liang thought for a moment and squatted beside the old beggar. The old beggar accepted the silver with a smile and said, "Quite a few years." "Then let me ask you something." Ning Shu, who was in the blood soul banner, heard footsteps. He opened his eyes and looked at the door. He saw Liang with a dark expression. Liang bought a roasted chicken for Ning Shu and placed it in front of her. Ning Shu did not eat the roasted chicken. She asked Liang, "How did it go?" The little fox swallowed the candied fruit in her mouth. Ning Shu said, "The three of us entered the Yin Yang sect to find his sister. It's a little difficult." "What do you mean?" Ning Shu asked while eating the chicken. Liang said, "The Skystream Valley is covered in fog all year round. It's hard to tell directions. Once you enter, you'll lose your way. Moreover, there are all kinds of poisonous creatures in the valley. Apart from the Yin Yang sect disciples, everyone else will die in the valley." Liang's expression became gloomier as he spoke. "Is it possible that this fog is an illusion or an effect of a formation?" Ning Shu asked the little fox. The little fox said, "I didn't see the exact situation. I don't know if it's an illusion or not. We'll just have to slowly think of a way." Ning Shu narrowed his eyes slightly. He stared at Yi Liang and kept sizing him up. Yi Liang was very anxious. He did not notice Ning Shu sizing him up. Ning Shu asked the little fox while eating the candied fruit, "Are there any Yin-Yang sect disciples here?" "No, I don't know," the little fox said vaguely. "Eat less sweet things. You'll turn into a little fatty in the future. You won't even be able to run." Ning Shu could not figure out why the little fox liked to eat sweet things so much. It was so scary. Especially the candied fruits. They were all covered in sugar. They were so sweet that it made one's teeth fall off. "There should be. The Yin-Yang sect disciples will also come out," the little fox said casually. Ning Shu sized up Yi Liang. His skin was soft and tender. He did not have an Adam's apple yet. "I have a way to enter the Yin-Yang sect," Ning Shu said with a smile. "What is it?" Yi Liang was still thinking about how to enter the Yin-Yang sect. When he heard that Ning Shu had a way, he immediately looked at Ning Shu. "There's a type of person that the Yin-Yang sect definitely welcomes. That's women. Why don't you dress up as a woman?" Ning Shu said. Yi Liang was dumbfounded. Finally, he shook his head. "I refuse. I think that's a good idea." The little fox jumped up. "Perfect." Yi Liang was speechless. "Perfect? Of course it would be perfect if these two foxes dressed up as women. Is there any other way? It's too difficult to dress up as a woman. It's too easy to be seen through." The moment he touched his lower body, he was immediately exposed. "We're going to enter the Yin-Yang sect to find someone. Let's enter the sect first. Do you still want to find your sister?" the little fox said hurriedly. Clearly, it was gloating. Although the little fox doesn't have good intentions, it makes sense. Ning Shu nodded. Yi Liang's heart ached at the thought of Yi Ro. He nodded and agreed to dress up as a woman. Yi Liang went to a clothing store to buy women's clothes. The store owner looked at him strangely. Yi Liang put on the women's clothes and combed his hair. He had good skin, red lips, and white teeth. It was hard to tell if he was a man or a woman in the women's clothes. However, the moment he spoke, he was exposed. Ning Shu asked Yi Liang to speak softly and slowly. If he could avoid speaking, he would be a beauty. Yi Liang was not used to wearing the women's clothes. He touched here and there. "Practice well," Ning Shu said seriously. Yi Liang imitated a woman's behavior. Ning Shu shyly gave him a coquettish look. Ning Shu thought, "How cold, just be normal." "Wear a veil," Ning Shu said. Yi Liang put on the veil, revealing a pair of clear eyes. He drew his eyebrows slightly with an eyebrow pencil. Instead, she was a beautiful woman with clear eyes. Chapter 1193. Yi Liang, who was disguised as a woman, was either strolling on the streets or in the taverns. He was hoping that a Yin-Yang sect disciple would take a fancy to him. "Yi Liang, what do you mean by take a fancy?" Ning Shu continued to purify the souls in the blood soul banner every day. Sometimes he would ask Yi Liang for some blood. Yi Liang's blood was pure virgin blood and had yang energy. Yi Liang wondered why Ning Shu wanted his blood. Ning Shu only said that the blood soul banner was a little restless and needed the owner's blood to suppress it. Yi Liang didn't say anything. He gave his blood to Ning Shu and then went out to show off. Ning Shu used Yi Liang's blood to draw a talisman on the blood soul banner. When he drew the talisman, the souls in the blood soul banner were restless and even the blood soul banner was shaking. Luckily, Ning Shu had learned some advanced incantations and could barely suppress the restless spirit foxes. These souls would feel terrible. After all, yang energy could hurt and destroy them. The yin energy in the blood soul banner was slowly weakening and dissipating. With the yang gathering array and Ning Shu's incantations, the effects were amplified. The effect multiplied a few times, and the blood soul banner became even more agitated. Ning Shu firmly suppressed it. He didn't let these souls rush out of the blood soul banner. Otherwise, it would backfire on Yi Liang. After a few days of Yi Liang swaggering through the streets, attracting the attention of bees and butterflies, holding a clean little fox in his arms, he was a proper beauty. Finally, someone came out to seduce Yi Liang. He felt that the man's gaze was constantly scanning his body, sizing him up. That gaze was as if he wanted to strip him naked. Yi Liang's heart was extremely sour. Yi Liang was invited to a tea house by a man. This man was wearing peach-pink clothes. It was hard to imagine a man wearing peach-pink clothes. Yi Liang couldn't bear to look at him. He felt like his eyes were burning. The clothes were embroidered with auspicious clouds. He heard that it was the uniform of the Yin-Yang sect disciples. Yi Liang. The Yin-Yang sect disciples' gaze was on Yi Liang. His eyes were filled with lust. How clear could his gaze be after being exposed to women for a long time? Yi Liang lowered his head shyly and stroked the little fox's fur. The little fox's mouth puffed up as it chewed on the candied fruit. Its ears perked up as it listened to their conversation. In the eyes of the Yin-Yang sect's disciples, Yi Liang was a peerless beauty. Even their breathing quickened. Full breasts, perky buttocks. It was much more beautiful than the cauldrons in the sect. When Yi Liang saw the Yin-Yang sect's disciples staring at his chest, he couldn't help but lower his head. Was there something wrong with his chest? It was flat. Why was it drooling while staring at his chest? Yi Liang felt so good. There was only one word that could describe the feeling in his heart. Rape. Miss, how old are you? Where do you want to go? Meng Su retracted his unrestrained gaze and asked Yi Liang. Yi Liang lowered his head and said in a shrill voice, "My name is Sishu. I want to go to the Yin-Yang sect." Yi Liang's voice was softened by the little fox's illusion. There was an indescribable sense of shyness in his voice, causing Meng Su's body to tremble. Yi Liang. When Meng Su heard that Yi Liang wanted to go to the Yin-Yang sect, a glint flashed across his eyes. He asked again, "Why are you going to the Yin-Yang sect?" "I'm going to look for my sister. She's in the Yin-Yang sect." Back then, the Yin-Yang sect said that they wanted to take her in as a disciple. However, she hasn't been home for a long time. "I'm here to visit her," Yi Liang said honestly. Meng Su cursed in his heart. "You want to leave after entering the Yin-Yang sect? You must be dreaming. I'm afraid your sister has already become a cauldron for thousands of men." Meng Su puffed out his chest and patted the dust off his body. He said calmly, "If you want to look for your sister, I can help you. I'm a disciple of the Yin-Yang sect." "Really?" Yi Liang asked suspiciously. "My father said that there are many bad people in this world. We can't trust strangers. Do I look like a bad person to you?" Yi Liang. Bad person? Meng Su finally convinced Yi Liang to go to the Yin-Yang sect with him. Yi Liang said that he had to go back to get something. Meng Su followed behind him. "Quick, we're going to the Yin-Yang sect." Yi Liang walked into the house and put away the blood soul flag in front of Ningshu. He took the package. There were some poisons in the package just in case. Ningshu stood up and followed Yi Liang out of the door. He saw Meng Su. Meng Su saw the dirty Ningshu. "Do I have to bring this too? This dog grew up with me. Can I bring him along?" Yi Liang requested. Meng Su's body turned numb when he heard the beauty's request. Of course, he agreed. However, you have to look after him. Don't offend the senior brothers in the sect. Meng Su brought Yi Liang to the Sky Creek Valley. He didn't fly on his sword because there were too many people. Along the way, Meng Su was very attentive to Yi Liang. Clearly, he wanted to trick Yi Liang into going to the Yin-Yang sect. Yi Liang asked Meng Su if he knew his sister. Meng Su didn't know. Women who went to the Yin-Yang sect only had one name, cauldron. In the past, no one cared about what they were called. As they got closer to the Sky Creek Valley, the fog became thicker. The white fog was very thick. People couldn't see it from a distance. The visibility was very low. There was no wind around and it couldn't disperse the fog. Ningshu thought, "The fog is a little heavy." "What are you doing?" Yi Liang shouted in a low voice. "Yi, the fog here is thicker. I'm holding you." Meng Su's voice was very wretched. He held Yi Liang's hand and rubbed his thumb against Yi Liang's skin. Yi Liang was so disgusted that he almost vomited. Ningshu sympathized with Yi Liang in his heart and grinned silently. Ningshu bit the corner of Yi Liang's clothes. He couldn't lose him in this situation. Otherwise, he would keep going in circles in the fog. Ningshu released his mental strength and checked the surroundings to see if it was an array. If it was a natural fog, it wouldn't last for so long. However, The fog could prevent people from checking the surroundings. Ning Shu could only check within a radius of 5 meters around her. Any further and she couldn't do it. Ning Shu retracted his mental strength. The fog should be an array. It should be the yin-yang sect's protective array. After walking for a while, they felt like they were walking in the same place in the fog. They didn't move at all. "Senior brother, are we going the wrong way?" Liang couldn't help but ask Meng Su. "Yes, it's a little far. I have a disciple token, so I won't go the wrong way." Meng Su's hand touched Liang's hand as he spoke. He touched and pinched it. Liang was speechless. Liang could only bear with it. Now that the arrow was on the bow, he had to release it. After walking for some time, the area in front of them suddenly widened. This was a huge courtyard built on the mountain. It was very big and had many rooms. Chapter 1194. There were all kinds of herbs growing in the mountains, and there were also some blooming flowers. Ning Shu's nose twitched. There was a sweet and ambiguous smell in the air. It warmed his heart and made him restless. "Be careful. Some of the herbs are poisonous," Meng Su reminded Liang. Liang just nodded, his body trembling slightly. Meng Su brought Liang through the sect gate. The sweet smell in the air became more obvious. There were also some strange sounds. Ning Shu saw a man and a woman doing something indescribable under a tree. The man had his pants down to his knees and his clothes were covering his butt. But it was obvious what he was doing. The woman's eyes were blank and she was moaning. It was Liang's first time seeing such a thing. His face turned red and he quickly looked away. Ning Shu looked without hesitation. But he was looking at the woman. The woman's face was red, but her expression was blank. Her eyes were blank, as if she had no consciousness of her own. The deeper they went, the more unbelievable the situation was. Beside the fake mountain, in the pavilion, on the grass, and on the beauty railing, there was no hesitation in doing such things in broad daylight. And Ning Shu even saw 2 yin-yang sect disciples getting closer. They were doing something indescribable, letting the woman hold the beauty railing and bend her body. The 2 disciples were chatting. Out of interest, they even swapped the woman under them. And these women didn't resist at all. They didn't have any emotions. Occasionally, they would moan to liven things up. The yin-yang sect people didn't treat the women as humans. They treated them as objects. They could be exchanged or borrowed. Anyway, they were just objects. Liang was embarrassed at first. Then, his face turned red with anger. When he thought about how his sister might be treated like this, his face turned paler. Meng Su turned back and said to Liang, "This is heaven." Liang was trembling with anger. "Shameless." Ning Shu looked away. He didn't want to look at the scene. Almost everywhere was this indescribable scene. Heaven? It was just a man's heaven. These women were innocent. Why were the women still in a weak position in a world that worshipped strength? To be strong, it was natural for the women to be like this? Cultivation was to defy the heavens and change one's fate. Everything could be done according to one's heart, but it couldn't be done to such an extent. Meng Su brought Liang to his room and said to him, "Stay here and don't go out." "But I have to find my sister," Liang said anxiously. "Wait here, I'll help you find it. You mustn't go anywhere. You've seen the situation before. If you go out, you'll be treated like that by the senior brothers." Meng Su threatened. Meng Su closed the door and locked it from the outside. Meng Su hurriedly went to find an elder and asked him to make a furnace for him. Meng Su wanted to make the beauty he brought back into his own furnace. However, Meng Su had heard from the elder that a woman's yin essence had to be given to the sect master or the elder before they would give him the furnace. Meng Su cursed in his heart. Everyone knew that a woman's primordial yin was very precious and could only be used once. However, Meng Su could only pinch his nose and accept it. After all, only a furnace would be obedient. He was the one who had tricked that woman. Now that she knew the truth, she would definitely make a fuss. Lord Chang in the sect had several furnaces. Moreover, they were all women with spiritual roots. Their cultivation effects were like flying. The effects of yin and yang dual nourishment were great. The stronger the furnace, the more power it provided. Ordinary disciples were ordinary women. Not only were their cultivation effects poor, but these women also didn't live for long. It wasn't only because of the corrosion of the medicine, but also because their bodies couldn't withstand the ravages of cultivators. Yi Liang was locked in the room. He was so anxious that he was sweating all over. He couldn't help but ask, "Will Yi Ro be treated like that?" Yi Liang tried to calm himself down. However, this matter concerned his sister. Yi Liang's heart was pounding. If his sister was treated like a toy and played with by a man, what would he do? Just thinking about it made Yi Liang's scalp tingle. Ning Shu sneezed. This place was constantly filled with a sweet and ambiguous smell. This place was simply an extreme wet dream. There were scenes of intercourse everywhere. Can one obtain power like this? Ning Shu saw Yi Liang's face turning white and red. He comforted him and said, "It should be fine." From what she saw, these women were about 15 or 16 years old. They were too young and would cause too much damage to the women. Moreover, they didn't have long lifespans. Meng Su soon returned. When he opened the door and saw Yi Liang sitting there obediently, he smiled. "Did you find my sister?" Yi Liang asked Meng Su. How could Meng Su find a sister? He didn't even know her name. This woman was really stupid. There are so many people in the Yin Yang sect. It's not easy to find one person. Wait a little longer. Meng Su said half-heartedly. Meng Su stared at Yi Liang with a burning gaze. However, he couldn't take away Yi Liang's Yin energy. This was because the Yin energy in the furnace was reserved for the people above. It really made one's heart itch. Yi Liang was disgusted by Meng Su's gaze. A man was sized up by another man with a lustful gaze. It was simply creepy. Fortunately, the other party was only sizing him up with his gaze and didn't do anything. Otherwise, Yi Liang wouldn't be able to hold it in. Meng Su's body was burning from looking at the beauty. Since he couldn't move, he simply locked Yi Liang up and went out to find a furnace to cultivate. Yi Liang let out a long sigh and wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. For a moment, Ning Shu even wanted Yi Liang to sacrifice himself. These people were all using Yin energy to nourish their Yang energy. If they did that with other men, what would happen? Would they explode and die? Ning Shu immediately regretted. How could he push Yi Liang into the fire pit? Amit ba. However, he couldn't stop this thought. Of course, this was all Ning Shu's bad taste. I'll go out and take a look. I won't attract too much attention. I can hide anywhere. Ning Shu said. Yi Liang was too eye-catching. Especially when he was dressed in female clothing. Who knew if some disciple would treat him as a furnace and casually pull him over and press him down? It's too sad to just wait here, Yi Liang said. The longer he stayed here, the more his conscience sank. The women here were more pitiful than he had imagined. They were just moving tools without their own will and thoughts. What methods did they use to make these women like this? If Yi Ro was here, what would happen to her? Why don't we pretend to be a Yin Yang sect disciple? That way we can look for her. The little fox said. When that person comes over later, we'll knock him out, tie him up and stuff him under the bed. Then we'll take off his clothes. Chapter 1195. Yi Liang can wear his clothes and pretend to be a Yin Yang sect disciple. This is a good idea. Perfect. Little Fox said proudly. Ning Shu said calmly, that disciple is half a head taller than Yi Liang. His frame is also bigger than Yi Liang's. What will he look like in the disciple's clothes? It's okay. I can use an illusion to make Yi Liang feel that his clothes are suitable. Little Fox said seriously. Ning Shu, are you trying to cover your ears? I'll go out first and find a disciple with a similar physique to Yi Liang. I'll find a way to get the clothes. Ning Shu said. Yi Liang and Ning Shu said, be careful. When it was almost evening, Meng Su brought some food to Yi Liang. When Meng Su opened the door, Ning Shu rushed out. Meng Su put down the food and was about to chase after Ning Shu. Yi Liang pulled Meng Su back. He's just a little bored. Let him out. Be careful. He might be beaten to death and eaten. Meng Su frowned, but the little bastard ran out again. Meng Su didn't care. If he was really beaten to death, he deserved it. Meng Su was a little anxious. When would it be his turn to make a cauldron? It wasn't easy to make a cauldron. If he wasn't careful, a woman's life would be gone. There were many people waiting in front. It would still take some time before it was his turn. Meng Su didn't care about the bastard that looked like a dog. He said to Yi Liang gently, "Eat something." "Thank you." Yi Liang could only wait. Meng Su asked Yi Liang casually, "What spirit root do you have?" Meng Su's expression was casual, but he was very concerned about this. If he had a spirit root, he would have profited. Everyone in the sect was working hard to find a cauldron with spirit roots. Some people took the risk and ran to kidnap some female sect disciples, eyeing them covetously. Those proud and unyielding female disciples of the Yin-Yang sect were all turned into human cauldrons at the mercy of the Yin-Yang sect. The Yin-Yang sect was a sect that all female cultivators hated. Other than looking for women with spiritual roots, there were also women who were suitable to be used as furnaces, such as women who were born at special times. Yi Liang saw that Meng Su was asking about his spirit roots and noticed that Meng Su was looking forward to it. He thought for a while and said, "I have penta-spirit roots." Yi Liang was disappointed for a moment. It turned out to be a mixed spirit root, but it was better than nothing. Even though she had penta-spirit veins and her cultivation speed was slow, her physique was still better than that of ordinary women. Meng Su's attitude towards Yi Liang was much better. He even personally picked up food for Yi Liang. Yi Liang was worried about Ning Shu, but he had to be patient and deal with Meng Su. As for Ning Shu, he left the room and began to wander around. Every time he passed by a room, Ning Shu would hear a strange sound. Moreover, there were some who did not have any scruples at all. They directly engaged in group sex in public. It was simply unsightly. However, these disciples didn't feel the slightest bit of shame. They smiled proudly and even compared the faces and figures of the furnaces beneath them. What kind of place was this? This was simply asshole. It was a completely devoid of humanity. These women couldn't feel happiness or pain. They didn't have their own thoughts and feelings at all. They were walking corpses. It was too abominable. Ning Shu felt that it stung his eyes and ears. His eyes were blind and his ears were deaf. Ning Shu strolled around the Yin-Yang sect. He walked along the walls with his tail between his legs and hid when there were people around. Ning Shu's figure was not eye-catching. Even if someone saw him, they wouldn't care about a dirty beast. The Yin-Yang sect was very big. The courtyard was filled with flying pavilions and buildings. It was so complicated that Ning Shu was almost dizzy. However, Ning Shu memorized the route in his mind. Otherwise, it would be funny if he couldn't find the way back. Ning Shu found that the life of the Yin-Yang sect's disciples was basically about sex. Other than sex, there was only sex. He didn't know if it was for enjoyment or to improve their strength. Ning Shu felt that the Yin-Yang sect's cultivation method was very strange. He could enjoy it and improve his strength at the same time. Moreover, there was a perfect method to make cauldrons. How could such a sect exist until now? Were there no chivalrous and righteous people? Weren't these women innocent? Ning Shu walked around and paid special attention to the situation of the teenage girls. However, Ning Shu didn't see Ro. Ning Shu walked and smelled a strong medicinal smell. Ning Shu followed the smell to a place. The plaque in the courtyard had the words, "Beauty Hall," written on it. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. This couldn't be a cauldron-making workshop, right? The door to the courtyard was closed. Ning Shu found a place and jumped over the wall. After entering the courtyard, the strong medicinal smell became even stronger. Ning Shu quietly walked to the foot of the wall. He heard a commotion inside. Some women were crying and cursing. Ning Shu stood up and looked at the situation inside through the gap in the window. There were quite a few women locked up inside, and all of their clothes had been stripped off. They were soaking in the bathtub. Their faces were pale as they soaked in medicinal water. Some of them were unconscious while others were awake. They were trying their best to break free from the ropes that bound them. Disciples came and went, adding all kinds of strange things into the bathtub. They added all kinds of medicinal powder. Under the effect of the hot air and medicinal water, these women's skin was steamed pink. Ning Shu moved his nose. He wanted to smell the ingredients in the medicinal powder. However, The ingredients were too complicated and the medicinal smell was too strong. He couldn't smell any medicine. Ning Shu walked around the house. There were many rooms in the courtyard. There were also some normal women locked in some rooms. These women were obviously just captured. Some of the women's faces were filled with confusion and fear. Some of them were filled with anger. Ning Shu walked around again. He saw that in the hall, there were disciples choosing cauldrons that had already been made. These women were in a daze. Some disciples chose a woman and she left with the disciple. After a while, the cauldrons in the hall were all chosen. Ning Shu was really unimaginable. These people chose women as if they were pork on the chopping board. They didn't treat these women as living beings at all. They were so indifferent and natural. Then where was Yi Liang's sister? Ning Shu didn't plan to go back for the time being. He walked around every place in the Yin Yang sect. He wanted to find out where Yi Ro was. The air was filled with a sweet and flirtatious smell, which made Ning Shu very annoyed. What the hell was this place? He really wanted to burn this place down. These men really disgusted Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked around and met a man. He was wearing pink clothes, but he looked very elegant and handsome. Chapter 1196. The man in pink clothes was coming out of a courtyard. Ning Shu quickly hid at the side and watched him leave. His back view was graceful and calm. He didn't look like a Yin Yang sect disciple at all. After the man left, Ning Shu came out from the dark and wanted to take a look inside the courtyard. Another man opened the door and entered the courtyard. Could it be said that it was a little strange? Was there something hidden in this courtyard? Why did another handsome man go in? Ning Shu jumped over the wall and carefully entered the courtyard. The courtyard was full of flowers and there was a swing. The swing was made of cloth strips of different colors. This should be a girl's courtyard. Ning Shu stuck close to the wall and didn't dare to breathe loudly. He listened to the movements in the room. The voices of a man and a woman came from inside. The woman's voice was crisp and moving. She called the man senior brother. Ning Shu stuck to the corner of the wall and didn't dare to look into the room. He silently listened to the voices in the room. The man doted on the woman and gave her some gifts. The woman thanked him happily. Ning Shu was a little surprised. This was the first time he saw a normal woman in the Yin Yang sect who hadn't been made into a cauldron. The man talked to the woman in the room for a while and told her not to go out. She was to stay in the courtyard and not go out. The people outside would hurt her. The woman agreed readily. She asked the man to visit her often and bring fun things. Ning Shu frowned. This was obviously house arrest, but the woman didn't feel it. After the man left, Ning Shu leaned against the window. He saw a luxuriously decorated room. There were bead curtains, jade wares, jade screens, and fresh flowers. It was a treasure house. Gui Dian Lawn Palace. A maid stood in the room, guarding a girl. The girl was wearing a brocade dress and a simple but exquisite hair accessory on her head. She sat on a chair and swung a windmill in her hand. The windmill spun rapidly. Her expression was pure, and her eyes were innocent. Most importantly, she didn't look old. She even resembled Yi Liang. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat. Could this be Yi Ro? Yi Ro was really in the Yin Yang sect. However, from the looks of it, she wasn't made into a human cauldron. Instead, she was being fed well. Ning Shu wanted to jump into the house, but he suddenly heard the sound of the courtyard door opening. He quickly shrank back and hid, perking up his ears to listen to the situation inside the house. A man's voice came from the room. It should be another person because the voice was different from the man from before. The man continued to address the girl as junior sister and brought her some toys. Ning Shu was speechless. What was the situation now? The Yin Yang sect really taught Yi Ro seriously, but looking at Yi Ro's current situation, she was clearly a canary. The man's tone was teasing and teasing. He chatted with Yi Ro for a while before leaving. This time, Ning Shu was not in a hurry to enter the house. Instead, he waited to see if anyone else came. He didn't know why Yi Ro hadn't been made into a human furnace, but this was undoubtedly the best situation. After waiting for a while, no man came. Ning Shu waited until the maidservant guarding the house left before jumping into the house. The girl was shocked. When she saw the dirty Ning Shu, she calmed down and asked innocently, "How did you get so dirty? Let me help you wash." The girl reached out to hug Ning Shu. Ning Shu jumped away and asked, "What's your name?" You can talk?" The girl was surprised and raised her voice. The maidservant outside asked, "Saintess, what's wrong?" "Nothing. I want to sleep for a while." "Don't come in," the girl said to the outside. "Saintess." The girl turned her head and looked at Ning Shu. She asked, "Why are you here?" "What's your name?" Ning Shu asked again. "Then tell me your name first," the girl said mischievously. "Little Black, what about you?" "Senior brothers call me Xiao Rou." "What's your surname?" "I don't have a surname." "Xiao Rou Yi Rou?" Ning Shu looked at Xiao Rou, trying to find some special mark on her body. There was an inconspicuous red mole at the corner of Xiao Rou's eye. Ning Shu remembered this feature. "Why haven't I seen you before?" Ning Shu asked. "I've been in the Yin Yang sect for a while." Xiao was very happy with Ning Shu's arrival. "My master and senior brothers said that we should stay in the room and cultivate." Other than seeing her master and senior brothers, there was also a maidservant who served her. This was the first time Xiao Rou saw an outsider. Moreover, it was an animal that could talk. Therefore, she was very excited. "Senior brothers? How many senior brothers do you have?" Ning Shu had a strange feeling in her heart. "I'm the youngest disciple of my master," Xiao Rou answered honestly. The strange feeling in Ning Shu's heart became more intense. He asked again, "Why didn't they let you go out?" "Master said that the outside world is too dangerous. I can only go out when I'm strong enough," Xiao Rou said softly, afraid that the maidservant outside would hear. "What's your spiritual root?" "I have the heavenly spiritual root." Ning Shu's pupils shrank. The heavenly spiritual root was a spiritual root that was above the 5 elements spiritual roots. It was even more unique than the thunder spiritual root. No wonder the Yin Yang sect was unwilling to make her into a human cauldron. It was a waste to make someone with such a spiritual root into a human cauldron. If she didn't die, she would be a dazzling expert in the future. Ning Shu asked, "Do you have other family members? Why do you have so many questions? Now it's my turn to ask you. What are you?" "I'm a fox." "How did you get here? How can you talk? Why are you so dirty? Do you want me to help you wash it? Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something?" Xiao Rou picked up the dessert on the table and handed it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu glanced at her and ate the dessert in her hand. Xiao Rou instantly smiled. Her eyes were curved, and she looked exceptionally pure. "Do you want to go out?" Ning Shu asked Xiao Rou. Xiao Rou shook her head. "I don't want to go out. Master and senior brothers said that I can only go out when I'm strong enough." Ning Shu frowned. He didn't want to give up and asked, "Don't you want to live outside?" "Not really. Master and senior brothers bring me fun and delicious things. They even tell me stories." Xiao Rou pointed at a cabinet. The cabinet was stuffed with all kinds of toys. There were dolls, clay figurines, and all kinds of children's toys. Ning Shu was speechless. Xiao Rou probably didn't realize that her freedom was restricted. She only had 1 master and 5 senior brothers by her side. She wasn't made into a human cauldron, but her thoughts were also restricted. Chapter 1197. Every day, Xiao Rou heard her senior brothers talk about how dangerous and dark the outside world was. Xiao Rou did not have any strong desire for the outside world. Ning Shu looked around the room. Here, he could have anything he wanted. Furthermore, his senior brothers cared for him in every possible way. Some were willing to be a canary, while others were willing to be a soaring eagle. In Xiao Rou's situation, these people used gentle methods to bind her wings. "How are you the saintess? I have been in the Yin Yang sect for so long. How come I didn't know there was a saintess?" Ning Shu said in a half-serious manner. "Saintess is just a title. You don't have to care about it. It doesn't matter if other people know about it." Xiao Rou said indifferently. Ning Shu had many questions he wanted to ask her. "Do you remember the past? Do you have any relatives?" Xiao Rou rubbed her head. "Master said I am an orphan. I don't have any memories of the past. Ning Shu still wanted to talk to Xiao Rou. However, he heard the sound of the door opening and a maid's voice. Sect Master, the Saintess is sleeping. Ning Shu whispered to Xiao Rou, I will look for you to play tomorrow. Don't tell anyone about my existence. Ning Shu jumped out of the window and stuck close to the wall. A man's deep voice sounded. I can vaguely hear someone talking inside. The man in embroidered clothes quickly walked to the door and opened it. When he entered the room, he saw Xiao Rou lying on the bed. Master! Xiao Rou shouted at the man. Xiao Rou, who were you talking to? The man's voice was cold. Didn't Master tell you not to interact with the people outside? The people outside are very dangerous and ugly. Ning Shu stuck close to the wall and hid his aura. When he heard this, he could not help but be speechless. Was there anyone more dangerous and ugly than the Yin-Yang sect in this world? Although these people did not turn Xiao Rou into an ordinary cultivation furnace, they were still cultivating a cultivation furnace. A powerful cultivation furnace. A cultivation furnace that could cultivate by herself and wholeheartedly trust them. A cultivation furnace that did not know etiquette, justice, integrity, or shame. A cultivation furnace that did not know anything. Ning Shu's fox face was a little twisted. So this was a cultivation plan. What kind of pea would it be? Ning Shu did some mental calculations. 5 senior brothers and 1 master. He wondered if there would be other men joining them in the future. Therefore, Ning Shu suspected that this world was just another world. Xiao Rou is the female lead? Ning Shu. Ning Shu's face was expressionless, but his heart was in turmoil. When that so-called master left, Ning Shu took a deep breath and jumped over the wall, hurrying back to find Liang. Ning Shu had previously guessed that Liang might be the main character of this world. After all, there were so many disasters. But now, I realize that your sister is the main character. Ning Shu wandered around Yin-Yang sect for a whole day. It was already dark outside. With the cover of the night, Ning Shu returned very soon. Liang was still locked up by Meng Su. The lights in the room were still on. Ning Shu stood at the door and whimpered. Liang immediately rushed to the door. Ning Shu anxiously asked through the gap, Little Hey, are you all right? I was so worried. I'm fine. Ning Shu whispered and asked, I found someone who looks a little like your sister. Is there anything special about your sister? Liang was a little excited and wanted to open the door, but it was locked. The door lock swung twice. Where is she now? Is she okay? Liang wanted to ask if his sister had been made into a cultivation furnace, but he couldn't bring himself to ask. He stared at Ning Shu through the gap in the door. Ning Shu said, She's fine now. She wasn't made into a cultivation furnace. Your sister has a heavenly spirit root. Heavenly spirit root? Liang repeated. Then he heaved a sigh of relief. It's good that she's fine. Although she hadn't been made into a cultivation furnace, her situation wasn't much better. Xiao Rou didn't seem to remember the past. All these years, she had been with her master and senior brothers day and night. She trusted and relied on them very much. Other cultivation furnaces had their minds destroyed by violence, but Xiao Rou's mind had been destroyed mentally. Even if she had a heavenly spirit root, she could still cultivate powerful strength. However, she was a daughter flower that could be picked by these people. At the same time, she didn't have to worry about food or clothing. She also wouldn't be in any danger because these people would do their best to protect her. I saw that the girl had a mole at the corner of her eye. It was red. Do you think your sister has it? Ning Shu said to Liang. Yes, that's right. Liang became more and more excited. When she was young, my mother hugged my sister and said that a girl with a mole was unlucky. She even wanted to find someone to remove that red mole. Xiao Hei, thank you. Thank you. Liang wiped the tears off his face. The corners of Ning Shu's mouth twitched. She couldn't believe that she was unlucky, but there was a red mole there, which made her look very charming. Xiao Rou's face was especially pure. With such a mole, her purity was mixed with charm. She was simply a man's ideal woman. She was pure and charming. I want to see Xiao Rou. Liang said anxiously. Ning Shu said calmly, Don't be anxious. We need to plan this carefully. You won't be able to leave like this. Wait for me to find a yin-yang sect disciple with a similar build as you. Liang took a deep breath. I got it. Liang also knew that being impulsive was not good. Not only would he fail to save his sister, but he would also implicate himself. When that happened, it would be even more impossible to save his sister. Ning Shu didn't have much hope of saving Yiro because she was already used to her current lifestyle. She wouldn't want to change her lifestyle, especially since Yiro had never left the courtyard. I'll go find out more about the situation. Stay here and watch her. Ning Shu instructed. Xiaohei, I think we need to hurry. That Meng Su looked at me strangely. He definitely wants to make me into a sex slave. Liang said. Ning Shu said without thinking, if something really happens, just knock him out and tie him up. Ning Shu noticed that the relationship between the yin-yang sect disciples was very indifferent. Even if a disciple temporarily disappeared, the others wouldn't notice it so quickly. They were all having sex all day. How could they have time to care about other people's matters? Liang's martial strength wasn't weak. Furthermore, he had a little fox that could use illusions. It should be easy for him to deal with Meng Su. Ning Shu arrived at Xiao Rou's courtyard again. However, before he entered, Ning Shu stopped in his tracks. He felt that there were people guarding Xiao Rou's courtyard, and there was more than one. Although she had restrained her aura, Ning Shu still felt it. All the hair on her body stood up uncontrollably. Ning Shu turned and left without thinking. Under the cover of the night, Ning Shu tiptoed around the yin-yang sect. The night was a little cold, but the strange, sweet and ambiguous smell in the air wasn't as strong. Chapter 1198. Ning Shu had been wondering who was guarding Xiao Rou's courtyard. Or were there a few of them? A strange thought popped up in Ning Shu's mind. She reckoned that it was those senior brothers. They were staring at the sleeping Xiao Rou as if they were looking at a rabbit to be slaughtered. That was Ning Shu's feeling. Xiao Rou was still young and had not reached the age to gather yin to nourish yang, so these people were waiting. No matter where Ning Shu went, there was an indescribable movement. He did it during the day and at night. Why didn't these people become stronger? It was too unscientific. Ning Shu took advantage of the night to walk around the yin-yang sect. Then, he went to a fake mountain cave and began to cultivate. The air was filled with a sweet smell, and there were also some strange sounds mixed together. It was like a charming and ambiguous dream. However, the spiritual qi here was very abundant. Ning Shu practiced his peerless martial arts, and the spiritual qi in his meridians began to turn into water. It flowed in his meridians like a stream. The next morning, there were footsteps and voices around the fake mountain. Ning Shu stopped cultivating and looked outside. He saw a small yin-yang sect disciple. Ning Shu made a comparison. This person was slightly taller than Liang. Liang could probably wear his clothes. Ning Shu crawled in the grass and followed the disciple. When he was alone, Ning Shu pounced on him and successfully knocked him out. Then, he dragged him behind the fake mountain. Ning Shu ran back to find Liang. The door was open and Meng Su was bringing breakfast for Liang. Meng Su looked at Liang with a burning gaze. Liang wanted to knock him out and gouge his eyes out. Little Hey, you're back? Liang saw Ning Shu and immediately stood up. Knock him out. I found his clothes, Ning Shu said directly. Before Meng Su could be surprised that the dog could talk, a fist appeared in front of him. The fist hit his face, and then he lost consciousness. Meng Su fell to the ground with a plop. Liang was still angry and kicked him heavily. Meng Su groaned and his face turned pale. Liang tore the sheets off the bed, then tied Meng Su up and stuffed him under the bed. Before leaving, the little fox even cast a very beautiful illusion for Meng Su. In the dream, Meng Su obtained great power and everyone was trampled under his feet. Ning Shu brought Liang to the fake mountain, where the yin-yang sect disciple was still unconscious. Liang took off the man's clothes and put them on himself. He loosened his hair, which was tied into a bun, and pulled out the jade hairpin on the man's head. She put it in her hair bun. The peach-pink clothes on Liang's body actually looked indescribably good. Xiaohei, quickly take me to Ruru. Liang said anxiously. Okay. Ning Shu said straightforwardly and turned to Ruru's courtyard. Before they got close to the courtyard, Ning Shu sensed if there was anyone around the courtyard. Climb over the wall. Ning Shu said, the surroundings. Before Ning Shu could finish, Yi Liang carried the little fox and climbed over the wall. Ning Shu also hurried to catch up. Ruru was eating breakfast when a person suddenly rushed in. It was not her senior brother. At this moment he was extremely agitated and stared at her with red eyes. Ruru put down her chopsticks and frowned. Who are you? Why are you here? Ruru, I am your brother. Yi Liang finally moved his feet and walked towards Ruru. Yi Liang could barely control his emotions. His eyes were red and his cheeks were trembling. No one knew how much he had suffered to find his family. I don't have a brother. Ning Shu heard Ruru say this as soon as he entered the room. Compared to Yi Liang's agitation, Ruru's emotions were a lot colder. She even had a feeling of rejection. Yi Liang's face, which was flushed with excitement, instantly lost its color. I am your brother. Yi Liang said with difficulty. You don't remember? Yi Liang became confused and afraid. He never thought that a brother and sister meeting would be like this. The strong Yi Liang suddenly softened. I really am your brother. Yi Liang walked towards Ruru. His body was a bit wobbly and he almost tripped over his own feet. Ruru stood up and moved away from Yi Liang. Please leave. Ning Shu sighed heavily in her heart. She turned to the little fox and said, Can you jog her memory? She looks like someone has erased her memories. At that time, Ruru should be almost 6 years old. Even if she was young, she should still have some memories. Let me try. The little fox said. Yi Liang looked at the little fox with anticipation. Ning Shu thought for a moment, then turned and ran out of the courtyard. He went to the beauty hall where the cauldrons were made. He arrived at the place where the women were locked up. Ning Shu released a burst of qi and smashed open the window. Ning Shu jumped into the room. The women locked up in the room looked at the dirty dog in surprise. Little thing, let us go. One of the women said to Ning Shu in a half-naked manner. She clearly had never begged anyone before. Even when she did, she appeared to be half-naked. Ning Shu cut the ropes binding her hands and legs with a claw. The woman's body was weak. She had clearly been drugged. Senior sister. The other women shouted at her. The woman cut her wrist and fresh blood flowed out. She dripped the blood onto the bracelet on her other wrist. The bracelet was very simple. After absorbing the blood, it became very dazzling. The woman sat down cross-legged. Soon, Ning Shu felt a wave of pressure. She had clearly recovered her strength. The woman saved her junior sisters. After thinking for a moment, she let the ordinary women go. Ning Shu said, Don't save them. They don't have any strength. They can't run far. They will be caught. If they offend the Yin-Yang sect, they will lose their lives. Even if she wanted to save them, now was not the time. Hearing Ning Shu's words, the woman was surprised. She gave up on saving the ordinary women. Hurried footsteps came over. The woman raised her eyebrows. She was a woman with a determined personality. Thank you, the woman said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu jumped out of the window. He did not accept the woman's thanks. Everyone was mutually beneficial. Ning Shu wanted to cause a commotion. Only then could Yi Liang take Xiao Rou out. But before he left, he had to make a scene. Ning Shu heard the sounds of fighting behind him. He ran towards Xiao Rou's courtyard. Xiao Rou's courtyard was relatively remote. However, it was where the upper echelons of the Yin-Yang sect lived. Ordinary disciples could not go there. Ning Shu had just run to the entrance of Xiao Rou's courtyard when he heard a bang. The courtyard wall was smashed by something. Chapter 1199. Cough cough. Yi Liang coughed out blood as he lay in the ruins. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat as anger welled up in his heart. Yi Liang was his disciple and was under his protection. How could he be beaten up so badly? Ning Shu ran over and saw 6 people standing in the yard. The leader was a mature and steady man. He was wearing a brocade robe with complicated patterns embroidered on it. Beside him stood 5 men, all of whom were people of great repute. All of them were extremely handsome. Ning Shu's heart was once again confirmed with her previous guess. This was definitely the case. One of the men was holding onto the fur on the little fox's neck and swinging it back and forth. The little fox was so scared that it was about to cry. When the little fox saw Ning Shu, it cried out, "Little Black, save me." Yi Liang clutched his chest and stood up. His eyes were tightly shut as he stared at these people with hatred. Here comes another one. But this one is dirty. The man holding onto the little fox's neck lazily said. Ning Shu immediately released a spirit chi water dragon. The water dragon roared out from behind Ning Shu and charged towards the man holding onto the little fox. The man narrowed his eyes and threw the little fox in his hand at the water dragon. The little fox cried out in fear. She hated this man to death. He was clearly using her to block the attack. The water dragon opened its mouth and bit onto the little fox. It then turned around and threw the little fox towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu was shocked. The dragon form she cultivated was becoming more and more spiritual. Although Ning Shu was controlling it, it was still beyond Ning Shu's expectations. The little fox spun in the air and smashed towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu dodged in a flash. The little fox fell heavily onto the ground and cried out in pain. In the end, it crawled up and hid behind Ning Shu. The spirit chi water dragon attacked the 6 people. Ning Shu released the spirit chi in his body, causing the spirit chi water dragon to become even bigger. Dealing with 6 people was not a problem at all. Yi Liang was shocked by the quietness of the battle in the air. Little Black was much stronger than he had imagined. Ning Shu walked to Yi Liang's side. Take some medicine. Yi Liang opened the package and took some medicine. Ning Shu asked, "Do you remember Yi-Ro?" I triggered Yi-Ro's hidden memory, but these people came and injured Yi Liang. Yi-Ro called Yi Liang Big Brother. These people are saying that I used an illusion and that what they saw wasn't real. In all honesty, I only evoked Yi-Ro's memories, the little foxes said indignantly. Her memories were sealed by someone. The little fox stuck close to Ning Shu. You have to protect me. From now on, you are a member of my Red Fox clan. I will protect you. The little fox was afraid that Ning Shu would not care about her, so she quickly promised. After the memories were sealed, these people still wanted to nurture Yi-Ro. Yi Liang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at the room. Yi-Ro was locked in the room. The commotion quickly attracted the disciples. Many disciples gathered together. They were wearing pink clothes and the visual effect was quite eye-piercing. Sect Master? The Yin-Yang Sect Master stared at the sky. The Sect Master and 5 senior brothers were fighting with something that looked like a dragon. Capture these people. The Yin-Yang Sect Master shouted to the disciples below. Yes. Ning Shu and the others rushed over. The little fox quickly set up an illusion. If Yi Liang and Little Black were captured, he would not be able to get away with it. He could not die. He was the future leader of the Red Fox clan. How could a person who relied on women have a strong will? He quickly fell into the little fox's illusion. However, the little fox's strength was not enough and the illusion could not last long. Ning Shu raised his claws and clawed at the disciples' crotches. Blood immediately spurted out. Let's see how you can bully women now that I've destroyed your manhood. Ah! Screams rose and fell. All the disciples who had their manhood destroyed by Ning Shu fell to the ground with their hands covering their manhood. They were covered in blood and looked terrified. The manhood was more important than their lives to the Yin-Yang sect disciples. Without it, they would not be able to become strong. The Yin-Yang sect disciples would not fight for resources like other cultivators. They would not go into seclusion all year round to fight against their inner demons. What they needed to do was to have sex with their cauldrons every day. The Yin-Yang sect disciples could not reach the end, but they were not weak. Most importantly, their cultivation method was easy. The disciples who had their manhood destroyed by Ning Shu were terrified and in despair. To reconstruct their bodies, they had to reach a certain level of strength or consume spiritual herbs. The spiritual herbs that could reconstruct the body were extremely precious. How much luck would one need to obtain them? When Yi Liang saw Ning Shu's fierce actions, he could not help but feel a chill between his legs. Yi Liang looked away and directly slit these people's necks. Those who had not woken up from the illusion would end up like this. Yi Liang's body was cold and ruthless. Ning Shu could not help but look at Yi Liang. Yi Liang touched the blood on his face and said, "These people deserve to die. How many rich families have met with a situation like mine? Deceiving women. This is a sinful place." Yi Liang's family was almost destroyed. Perhaps the Yin Yang sect was involved in this and the executor was Yi Xingjie. Yi Rou had a heavenly spiritual root. Such a root bone would be a treasure in any sect. Ning Shu thought for a moment. Wasn't the Yin Yang sect a human trafficker in the cultivation world? They used all kinds of methods to get women and used them as cauldrons. Ning Shu continued to destroy the manhood of these disciples. Everything was because of this thing. In a short while, the surrounding was filled with the smell of blood. It even covered the sweet and flirtatious smell. When the sect leader who was fighting with the spiritual energy water dragon saw his disciples being slaughtered, he immediately shouted angrily, "Bastard, how dare you hurt my disciples?" The Yin Yang sect leader's voice was like thunder exploding in Yi Liang's ears. Yi Liang's ears went deaf for a moment. Yi Liang did not stop. Another Yin Yang sect disciple died in his hands. His expression became more and more determined. "I might not be able to defeat an old monster like you, but I might be able to defeat these ordinary disciples." Ning Shu injected more spirit qi into the water dragon. The water dragon's body became more solid, and its strength increased. It blocked the sect master who was about to rush towards Yi Liang. The water dragon was fighting with 6 people. The main thing was that it was too difficult to deal with. Even if they cut the dragon in half with their swords, the water would quickly merge back together. Spells were also useless. Water was something that could contain and nurture all things. It was simply an unkillable monster. The girl who was released by Ning Shu also flew over. She was a little surprised. Then she joined the group that was killing the Yin Yang sect disciples. Chapter 1200. The Yin Yang sect disciples were soon covered in corpses. Even if they weren't dead, they were lying on the ground, unable to move. Towards the end, the disciples who saw Ning Shu ran away. Because Ning Shu always attacked the lower body of the men. The penis was the most important thing to the Yin Yang sect disciples. The few women that Ning Shu saved were especially ruthless. They were practically killing people while gnashing their teeth. These women not only cut off the penis, they also slit their throats. The smell of blood was getting thicker and thicker. It was so thick that it made it difficult to breathe. Towards the end, the old monsters of the Yin Yang sect were alarmed. "Stop!" A voice exploded. A person was floating in the air. "Stop!" The Yin Yang sect disciples stopped attacking. They stood together and stared at Ning Shu's group. A few women flew over and stood together with Ning Shu and Yi Liang. Ning Shu retracted the water dragon and stared at the person floating in the air. The atmosphere was so tense that people couldn't help but hold their breaths. "What is this?" a Yin Yang sect elder asked. His hair was white but his face was ruddy. There were no wrinkles on his face. He had white hair and a youthful face. "Supreme Elder, this person sneaked into the Yin Yang sect and killed our disciples." The sect master said. "Nonsense." The woman beside Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. "Your Yin Yang sect is so shameless. You captured me and my junior sisters here. My Green Rainbow sect won't let this go." The missing disciples of the Green Rainbow sect were all turned into cultivation furnaces by you. "What cultivation furnaces? It's so unpleasant to hear. Why do you have to belittle yourself? We're just going to walk the path together." A man said rudely. "Your Green Rainbow sect is made up of female disciples. Our Yin Yang sect is made up of male disciples. Why don't your Green Rainbow sect's disciples marry our Yin Yang sect's disciples?" The woman from the Green Rainbow sect was furious. She pointed her sword at the man who spoke. "Wolf, if you talk nonsense again, I'll rip your mouth off." "Then why don't you come?" The man called Wolf stretched his head towards the girl's direction and said mischievously. The woman took a deep breath. "Anyway, my Green Rainbow sect won't let this go. The white-haired Grand Supreme Elder furrowed his white brows. "What's going on?" Yi Liang said loudly, "The Yin-Yang sect kidnapped my sister. I'm going to take her back now." The sect master sneered, "What proof do you have that my disciple is your sister? Xiao Rou has a heavenly spiritual root. Are you trying to deceive her? Which sect are you from?" The sect leader scolded Yi Liang. "Yi Rou is my sister," Yi Liang shouted loudly. His face was ashen, clearly angered. "Just because you say so?" Wolf sneered. "Xiao Rou is our beloved junior sister. Just because you say she's your sister, does that make her your sister?" Ning Shu stared at Wolf. "Shut up. Since when was it your turn to speak? If you speak again, I'll beat you up." Wolf looked at Ning Shu's eyes with an incomparably cold expression. "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll beat you up." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Junior brother, there's no need to bicker with a beast," a man beside Wolf said indifferently. He looked at Ning Shu without any fluctuation in his eyes, as if he was looking at a dead object. Wolf didn't speak again. "No one dares to behave atrociously in the Yin-Yang sect. Sect leader, quickly deal with these people," the Grand Supreme Elder said indifferently. The sect leader grunted. Suddenly, with a prung sound, the locked door was violently kicked open. The door fell to the ground, causing dust to fly up. The one who opened the door was Xiao Rou. Xiao Rou raised her head and begged the sect leader, "Master, please let my brother go." The sect leader said unhappily, "Xiao Rou, he's not your brother. You're an orphan that I picked up." "But he's my brother," Xiao Rou said hesitantly. The sect leader pointed at the little fox. The little fox's fur immediately stood up and she hid behind Ning Shu. "You saw that little red fox. He knows illusions. Everything you saw was just an illusion created by him." The sect leader said, "Junior sister, is it because master and senior brothers didn't treat you well? They asked you to trust an outsider instead of us." Wolf looked at Xiao Rou with heartbroken eyes. Xiao Rou's expression became guilty. "Senior brother, that's not what I meant. I didn't suspect you." "Maybe I have a family?" Wolf shook his head. "If you have family, why didn't they come to find you before? Only after so many years have passed did they come to find you." Yi Liang immediately shouted, "That's because I didn't know that Xiao Rou was brought to the Yin-Yang sect." Yi Liang looked at Xiao Rou with anticipation. "Xiao Rou, come with me and leave this devil's den. You can't stay here. The people here will hurt you." Xiao Rou shook her head. "They won't. Master and senior brothers have never hurt me." "How can that be? They make women into cultivation furnaces. They treat you well because they want to nurture you into a furnace." "Xiao Rou, trust your brother," Yi Liang said until the end. He was almost crying blood. Xiao Rou shook her head. "Senior brothers won't hurt me." Ning Shu sighed in his heart. People won't learn if they haven't suffered before. In Xiao Rou's heart, her master and 5 senior brothers treated her very well. She trusted them very much. Even if she knew about the miserable state of other women, she would feel lucky and think that she was an exception. She was different and wouldn't fall to such a state. "Xiao Rou, come with your brother." Yi Liang shouted at Xiao Rou, "When you're a little older, you'll become their furnace. You won't be a man's furnace. Many men will share you." Xiao Rou's expression was a little dazed. She immediately asked, "Share what?" "Ning Shu, a child who doesn't know anything. She doesn't know etiquette, justice, integrity, or shame. She doesn't know the basic situation. She doesn't know the difference between men and women. A caged canary will really become a furnace. As long as it's her master and senior brothers, everything they say will be right. Then she will happily become a furnace and won't feel that there's anything wrong with it. Especially when her body is so beautiful." Ning Shu could almost imagine what would happen in the future. Xiao Rou's naive words immediately choked Yi Liang. How should he answer his sister? At this time, Yi Liang realized that his sister was really too naive. She was deliberately raised like this. Yi Liang stared at Xiao Rou's master and 5 senior brothers with hatred. The female disciple of the Qinghong sect was also stunned. Seeing Yi Liang clench his fist, she pondered for a moment and said, People are divided into men and women. Men and women are different. Men and women. The woman didn't know what to say and simply shut her mouth. Xiao Rou, don't believe this liar. Master told you that the people outside are very dangerous. They will hurt you and lie to you. This person is a bad person. Chapter 1201. Yi Liang watched as the Yin-Yang sect master inverted right and wrong. Ruru had been raised to be like this. Yi Liang's voice came out from between his teeth. Believe your brother. Ning Shu was watching from the side. Who cares if she believes me or not? Drag her away first. You'll know everything once you're outside, Ning Shu said straightforwardly. Yi Rou was like this because she was forbidden from coming into contact with the outside world. They're just up to no good, the sect master said. Ruru's expression was blank and helpless. She didn't know who to believe. She said to Yi Liang, Brother, I'm doing pretty well in the Yin-Yang sect. Leave this place. I don't want you to fight. Yi Liang was so anxious that he almost vomited blood. However, there were so many of them, and they were in their territory. The chances of them taking Yi Rou away were too small. However, if this dragged on, Yi Liang was afraid that Ruru would be killed. Yi Rou was now 11 years old. What do we do now? The female disciple of the Qinghong sect asked softly. It wasn't easy to get out. There were so many people in the Yin-Yang sect, and the fog in the Sky Creek Valley was a headache. Ning Shu looked at Yi Liang. What do you think? Yi Liang stared straight at Ruru. If I don't save Ruru this time, I won't be able to find her again. Ning Shu nodded. After this incident, these people would definitely hide Ruru. Moreover, it would be much more difficult to enter the Yin-Yang sect again. Therefore, they could only advance and not retreat. I'll do whatever you want. You saved my life, so I'll repay you, Ning Shu said in a low voice. Thank you. I saved you out of convenience, but you did so much for me, Yi Liang said softly. Ru, come with me. Yi Liang reached out his hand to Ru. After deciding what to do, Yi Liang calmed down. He felt like he was going to cut off all means of retreat. Ruru looked hesitant. She couldn't help but look at her original master and senior brothers. Ruru was a girl who didn't know how to make a choice. She didn't think much because there were people who did everything for her. Xiao Rou had a faint intuition that if she really left with her brother, her life would be different. So conflicted. Xiao Rou, you choose? Although he gave the choice to Xiao Rou, his expression was incomparably calm. Victory or defeat was within his grasp. Xiao Rou looked at her master and then at Yi Liang. Her pretty face twisted together as she said in a panic, Can I not choose? Ning Shu, why give the choice to Ru? Ning Shu transmitted to Yi Liang, let's just snatch it. How long was this confrontation going to last? Did they not see that Xiao Rou was clearly biased towards her master and senior brothers? She was closer to them than her brother, who had appeared out of nowhere. Yi Liang pursed his lips tightly. He took a deep breath and arrived in front of Xiao Rou in a flash. Stop! The Grandmaster bellowed and released an attack towards Yi Liang. Yi Liang grabbed his sister's arm and instantly returned to Ning Shu's side. Put Xiao Rou down. Xiao Rou's 5 senior brothers began to get restless. Xiao Rou felt a little pain from Yi Liang's grip on her arm. She could not help but carefully shout, Brother! The Grandmaster and the 5 senior brothers all attacked Yi Liang. The water dragon roared silently and rushed towards the 6 people. These 6 people were clearly serious. Ning Shu almost used all the spiritual energy in his body to barely block them. You guys go first and capture a Yin-Yang sect disciple. Ning Shu said. Only Yin-Yang sect disciples could walk out of the white fog of the heavenly river valley. Little Black. Yi Liang was stunned. Ning Shu felt a little pain in his meridians. Let's go. Yi Liang gritted his teeth and quickly ran with Xiao Rou on his back. The little fox quickly jumped onto Yi Liang's shoulder. The female disciple of the Qinghong sect also followed Yi Liang and helped Yi Liang kill the Yin-Yang sect disciples. The water dragon was fighting with the 6 people. When the Grandmaster saw his disciple being taken away, he quickly shouted to the Grand Elder who had nothing to do with it, Elder, that girl has a heavenly spirit root. The Grand Elder's eyes widened when he heard about the heavenly spirit route. He immediately chased after Iliang and the others. The water dragon seemed to feel Ning Shu's anxious mood. It raised its head and roared silently. It swung its tail and spat out water from its mouth. Although it was called water, it was actually spiritual energy. The Grandmaster of the Yin-Yang sect was hit by the rapid flow of water. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression was one of disbelief. Ning Shu, 0, how could this be? Ning Shu felt an inexplicable joy in his heart. If the water dragon really became a living thing, she would have another companion by her side. A companion that would never leave her side. The water dragon swept its tail at these people, causing them to retreat a great distance. Ning Shu jumped onto the water dragon's back. The water dragon chased after Iliang. Seeing the Grand Elder flying in front, the water dragon spat out a stream of water from its mouth. The stream of water was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it was behind the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder quickly dodged the stream of water. He turned around and looked at Ning Shu, who was on the dragon's back. The Grand Elder stared at the water dragon. What was this? It didn't look like a living thing. The water dragon was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of the Grand Elder. It swung its tail at the Grand Elder. However, it didn't entangle with the Grand Elder. It just ran away. Ning Shu chased it all the way to the entrance of the Yin-Yang sect. Iliang shouted to Ning Shu, "Little Black." Ning Shu jumped down and put away the water dragon. "Let's go." Xiao Rou, who was on Iliang's back, had already fainted. Ning Shu was a little surprised. Iliang sighed and said, "She doesn't want to go. Let's go quickly. They're chasing after us." The Qinghong sect disciple said. She was holding a Yin-Yang sect disciple hostage. Her sword was pressed against the Yin-Yang sect disciple's neck. The Yin-Yang sect disciple was covered in cold sweat and trembling all over. Ning Shu turned around and saw the Grand Elder getting closer. He gritted his teeth and said, "There's no other way now. We can only go out." This white fog was an array formation. It was the Yin-Yang sect's protective array formation. Once they entered, they would be caught like a turtle in a jar. However, there was no other way now. The group of people left the sect. In front of them was a vast expanse of white. They couldn't see anything further. "Everyone hold on to each other," Iliang said. The Qinghong sect disciple pressed her sword against the Yin-Yang sect disciple's neck and said, "Take us out quickly." "Okay, let go of your sword." The group of people walked under the lead of the disciple. However, after walking for a while, it seemed like they were walking in place. "Wait a minute. The route doesn't seem right," Ning Shu said. Everyone stopped. The woman's sword slit the Yin-Yang sect disciple's neck. "You're playing with us." The Yin-Yang sect disciple felt wronged. "I followed the route. Maybe the route changed. I think the array formation was changed by someone," Ning Shu said. He bent down and listened to the sounds on the ground. Chapter 1202. Ning Shu lay on the ground and heard the faint sound of the wind. Entering the fog was like entering another world. They were completely isolated. The faint sound of the wind indicated that this was an array formation. "What should we do now?" The woman frowned. "The Yin-Yang sect is disgusting." Ning Shu raised her head and looked at the sky. Since they couldn't leave, they could only fly. Ning Shu released the water dragon and said to everyone, "Come up. We'll leave from the sky." Everyone looked at the water-like dragon and carefully stepped on it. Surprisingly, it was very soft and supported everyone. The water dragon kept rising higher and higher. The fog became thinner and thinner. The water dragon hit a barrier. Ning Shu guessed that this was a barrier. If they could break this barrier, they would be able to leave. There was a complicated array formation above their heads. Ning Shu stared at the array formation and studied it. On the other side, the Yin-Yang sect's sect master and Xiaorou's 5 senior brothers had caught up. There was also a white-haired Grand Elder with a youthful face. At this moment, they were floating in front of them. The sect master's face darkened as he stared at Xiaorou, who was sleeping on Iliang's back. His expression was extremely cold. Hand Xiaoro over. In your dreams. Yi Liang nudged his sister up. Ning Shu kept staring at the array formation above their heads. This array formation was very complicated. Ning Shu, who knew a little about array formations, was dazzled. Yi Liang released a qilin. The qilin majestically stepped on the air and charged towards the other party. Yi Liang's qilin wasn't as powerful as Ning Shu's dragon. It was scattered after a few rounds. Yi Liang had almost exhausted all the spirit energy in his body when another qilin appeared. Yi Liang patted his chest and spat out his blood on the qilin. The qilin's body instantly became much more solid. With the qilin delaying, Ning Shu intensified her study of the array formation. She demonstrated the array formation in her mind over and over again. However, the qilin couldn't resist and dissipated in the end. Yi Liang gritted his teeth and took out the blood soul flag. He released black smoke that blotted out the sky. The surroundings became eerie and terrifying. Ning Shu was stunned. She didn't agree with Yi Liang using the blood soul flag. But now the situation was urgent. When she got out, she had to quickly purify the souls in the blood soul banner. She couldn't give Yi Liang a second chance to use the blood soul banner. You're a devil cultivator? The female disciples of the Green Rainbow sect looked at Yi Liang in astonishment, while the other girls looked at Yi Liang with vigilance. Yi Liang didn't say anything. Ning Shu closed his eyes and demonstrated the array formation in his mind. Finally, he found a way to break the array formation. The water dragon slammed into a corner of the array. Its tail slammed into the array several times, but it still couldn't break the array. The person standing on the water dragon swayed left and right, trying hard to stabilize his body. Quickly change the formation, they are about to break the formation. The sect leader shouted. Just as he finished speaking, there was a loud boom as the formation broke. Yi Liang hurriedly retracted the black smoke back into the blood soul banner. The female disciple of the Green Rainbow sect immediately killed the kidnapped Yin Yang sect disciple and pushed him down. Sit tight. Ning Shu's voice carried a hint of a smile. The water dragon was extremely fast, shuttling through the clouds. When he turned back, the heavenly stream valley was already a small black dot. Everyone heaved a heavy sigh of relief. After running for a while, the water dragon stopped and slowly sank down. Everyone jumped off the water dragon, and Ning Shu retracted the water dragon back into his body. Thank you for this time. The Green Rainbow sect disciple cupped his hands and said. Ning Shu grunted. Farewell. The Green Rainbow sect disciple thought for a moment, then took out a jade token and gave it to Yi Liang. If you have any problems in the future, you can come to the Green Rainbow sect to find me. I will try my best to help. Yi Liang took the jade token. Thank you. Also, I don't think you are a devil cultivator. It's best not to keep that flag by your side, otherwise you might be chased by some sections. The female disciple said to Yi Liang. Yi Liang nodded. Then, the girls disappeared into the forest. I thought I wouldn't be able to come out. The little fox sat on the ground and said with lingering fear. If I knew it was so dangerous, I wouldn't have come. Yi Liang put down Yi-Ro on his back, took off his clothes, and carefully laid Yi-Ro down. Ning Shu placed his claws on Yi-Ro's body to see if there were any tracking marks. See if there are any marks on her clothes. Ning Shu said to Yi Liang. Yi Liang quickly checked her clothes, but it was not easy for Yi Liang to check her undergarments. Ning Shu checked her body, but there were no marks on her body. He just didn't know if there were any marks on her clothes. Yi Liang finished checking Yi-Ro's outer clothes, but it was not easy for even his sister to check her undergarments. Let me do it. Ning Shu said. Yi Liang? Aren't you a male fox? Men and women should not touch. Yi Liang said. Because Ning Shu was using ventriloquism, it was impossible to tell if his voice was male or female. It was very low and sounded more like a man. Ning Shu said calmly, In my eyes, there is no difference between men and women. Yi Liang was skeptical, but in the end he turned around. Ning Shu opened Yi-Ro's belt and checked it carefully. There were no marks, but Ning Shu was amazed by Yi-Ro's fair and flawless skin. Yi-Ro was really well raised by the Yin-Yang sect. He wondered if Yi-Ro, who was always pampered, was used to an ordinary life. "It's done," Ning Shu said. Yi Liang turned around and tied Yi-Ro's belt. "Let's go." Ning Shu released the water dragon, and Yi Liang jumped onto it with Yi-Ro on his back. The water dragon flew through the clouds. The people on the ground inadvertently looked up and saw the dragon flying through the clouds, disappearing in the blink of an eye. It felt like an illusion. The water dragon ran tirelessly for a day and night, and returned to the familiar mountain range. Stepping back onto the ground, Yi Liang smiled. He had finally found his sister. "Little fox, go get something to eat," Ning Shu said to the little red fox. "My legs are still shaking. Let me rest first." The little fox said angrily. Ning Shu said to Yi Liang, "Give me the blood soul banner." Yi Liang was hesitant. He remembered that the blood soul banner had blocked the Yin-Yang sect's people. It was a trump card after all. Ning Shu said calmly, "Don't forget, your parents are still inside. Do you want your parents to suffer in the blood soul banner and not be able to reincarnate?" Boom. Yi Liang felt as if a bolt of lightning had struck his heart. When he thought of his parents' hideous and painful faces, his thoughts became clear. "Little Black, I was wrong." Yi Liang took out the blood soul banner. He only saw the power of the blood soul banner, but forgot that his parents were still inside. Ning Shu took the blood soul banner with his mouth and went to the side to convert the souls inside. Ning Shu made a simple yang gathering array. When the sunlight shone on the blood soul banner, black smoke came out. Ning Shu closed his eyes and chanted. He hoped that he could convert the souls inside before he left this world. Chapter 1203. Although Ning Shu wasn't as caring as Huiji, Ning Shu would do anything that was within his power. It wasn't just to appease the souls in pain, but also to prevent Yi Liang from being addicted to this power. Yi Liang had hesitated when Ning Shu asked him to hand over the blood soul banner. Yi-Ro, who had been unconscious, woke up with a groan. Yi Liang stared at Yi-Ro. Yi-Ro opened her eyes and used her hand to block the strong light. Then she looked around. Yi-Ro was stunned by this unfamiliar environment. "Ro, you're awake?" Yi Liang hurriedly supported Yi-Ro. "What is this place?" Yi-Ro asked in confusion. She had never left the yard before. This was the first time she saw such a huge mountain range. "Ro, we left the Yin-Yang sect," Yi Liang said happily. Yi-Ro's expression became even more confused. It was mixed with panic. "But I want to go back to the Yin-Yang sect." Yi-Ro stood up but didn't know where to go. "Sister, you can't go back to that demon cave. You can't." Yi Liang grabbed Yi-Ro's arm tightly. "Those people have bad intentions towards you. You really can't go back. Maybe the Yin-Yang sect is really like what you said. But Master and Senior Brother are very good to me. I don't care if they are good or bad because they are good to me," said Yi-Ro. Yi Liang was speechless. What should he do when his sister was like this? Ning Shu was speechless when he heard Yi-Ro's words. Yi-Ro was confused and afraid of the future. Not everyone was willing to change their lifestyle. Yi-Ro was used to the Yin-Yang sect's life. This was the wisdom of Yi-Ro's master and senior brother. They had raised Yi-Ro to be someone without her own opinions. She was used to being dependent and being surrounded by people. The little fox dragged a rabbit back. She put it down and said, "Make something to eat. I'm starving." Yi Liang glanced at Yi-Ro carefully. "I'll go prepare something to eat. Ro, Big Brother will take good care of you." Yi-Ro's expression was dazed. She didn't seem to hear Yi Liang. Yi Liang cleaned the rabbit and started a fire to roast it. After they were done, Yi Liang gave 2 rabbit legs to Yi-Ro. "Little sister, eat something." Yi-Ro took the rabbit leg and ate slowly. When the little fox saw that Yi Liang had given the most meaty leg to someone else, she grumbled, "What about me? What am I supposed to eat? I was the one who caught this rabbit." Yi Liang broke the rabbit into 2 halves, giving 1 half to the little fox and the other half to Ning Shu. "I'll go hunting again." Yi Liang stood up. Yi-Ro passed a rabbit leg to Yi Liang. "You can have it." "Thank you, little sister." Yi Liang smiled like a blooming flower as he nibbled on his thigh. Yi-Ro's taste was very small, or perhaps it was not to her taste. She did not even finish a small rabbit leg. Ning Shu glanced at Yi-Ro and saw Yi Liang. He was so anxious that he could not speak. Ning Shu continued to purify the souls in the blood-soul flag. As for the stiff relationship between Yi Liang and Yi-Ro, Ning Shu did not care. The blood-soul flag slowly emitted black smoke. Ning Shu asked Yi Liang for some fresh blood to draw a talisman. Thick black smoke came out of the blood-soul flag. After eating something, Yi Liang brought Yi-Ro back to the small town. The house where they used to live. "Little sister, this is our house." Yi Liang stood at the door and said to Yi-Ro. Yi-Ro looked at the shabby door and said, "This house is so old." Yi Liang choked. He touched his nose and went to open the door. The door opened with a creak. The yard was quiet and empty. It seemed that after he killed Yi Shui, no one would dare to occupy this house. The yard was a little deserted. It was summer and weeds grew everywhere. The house had been renovated by Yi Shui. It was not so shabby. Otherwise, it would be a haunted house. Yi Liang fetched water from the well and wiped the house clean. Ning Shu looked at the motionless Yi-Ro and asked, "Why don't you help?" Yi-Ro bit her lips and said softly, "I don't know how to. Little Chui usually does these things." "It's okay. I'll clean it," Yi Liang said. Yi Liang always lacked confidence in front of Yi-Ro. Ning Shu did not think that Yi Liang had done anything wrong to Yi-Ro. Ever since his sister went missing, Yi Liang had lived without food. He felt guilty for his sister and stayed in the house, hoping to reunite with his family. Although he had met Ning Shu, he had also suffered a lot and experienced a lot of torture. He traveled thousands of miles to the Yin-Yang sect to save her. Yi-Ro lived the life of a princess. However, this kind of life came with a price. Ever since she left the Yin-Yang sect, Yi-Ro wanted to go back. She did not even ask her parents. Sometimes, naivety was a kind of cruelty. The worst was the Yin-Yang sect. They deliberately raised Yi-Ro so that she would see them as her spiritual support. Now that Yi-Ro had left them, she was at a loss. "Brother, can you bring me back to the Yin-Yang sect? I want to say goodbye to Master and Senior brothers." Yi-Ro looked at Yi Liang with watery eyes. Yi Liang gripped the rag tightly and was speechless for a long time. "Brother, I beg you. After all, Master has raised me for so long. I can't just leave like this. Also, Senior brothers are very good to me," Yi-Ro begged. The little fox said unhappily, "You almost lost your life to escape. Now you want to go back? Are you tired of living?" After going around the Yin-Yang sect, the little fox was so scared that she almost peed her pants. Only then did she know that her illusion was useless against people who were slightly stronger. Therefore, the little fox did not want to hear the words Yin-Yang sect. "Your brother saved you and you want to go back. What are you thinking?" The little fox nibbled on her candied fruit and stared at Yi-Ro. Yi-Ro said anxiously, "I didn't ask brother to save me. I am living well." Yi Liang's body shook when he heard Yi-Ro's words. His expression was complicated. "Don't you want to live with me?" Yi Liang asked. Yi-Ro lowered her head and did not say anything. The atmosphere became awkward and tense. Yi Liang turned and went out to buy food. After returning with the vegetables and meat, he went back to the kitchen to cook without saying a word. Yi Liang made a table full of dishes and placed a bowl of rice in front of Yi-Ro. He said warmly, "Ro, I know that you're not used to life now. You'll get better in the future." Yi Liang took a bowl of rice and placed it in front of Ning Shu and the little fox. Ning Shu and the little fox ate on their own and did not care about the siblings. Yi-Ro had a small appetite and stopped eating before she finished half a bowl of rice. She was in a bad mood. Yi Liang sighed and cleared the table. Ning Shu walked in front of Yi-Ro and asked, "What cultivation technique did you cultivate in the Yin-Yang sect?" Chapter 1204. Ning Shu wanted to know what cultivation technique Yi-Ro was cultivating in the Yin-Yang sect. After thinking for a bit, he realized that it was not an offensive technique. Although she did not know why this fox was asking about her cultivation technique, Yi-Ro wanted him to take her back to the Yin-Yang sect, so she answered honestly. "It's flower hypnosis." Ning Shu, What the hell was that? There were all kinds of cultivation techniques, such as the heartless mantra, the sword mantra, but he had never heard of this cultivation technique. Master said this cultivation technique is suitable for women. Yi-Ro could not see the complicated expression on Ning Shu's furry face. It seemed that this cultivation technique was convenient for men to harvest and provide them with strength. Ning Shu asked again, "Do you know how to attack?" Yi-Ro shook her head. Master said this cultivation technique is for self-cultivation, not for fighting and killing. That's why Master and Senior Brothers did not let me go out. Ning Shu, this cultivation technique was really good. Yi-Ro still thought that her Master and Senior Brothers were good people. Yi-Ro squatted down and looked at Ning Shu at eye level. She begged, "Can you take me back to the Yin-Yang sect? I will say goodbye to my Senior Brothers and Master. After that, I will live a good life with my brother." Ning Shu asked, "Do you think they will let you go back and let you live with your brother? They might even kill your brother." Yi-Ro was speechless. "My brother is my family, but Master and Senior Brothers are also my family." Yi-Ro covered her face and said, "I can't leave them." Ning Shu also felt quite tired. She had been running all over the place without stopping. This was a world of cultivation, but Ning Shu did not find any treasures. Other than 2 fiery fruits, he was also chased by 2 cultivators. Every time something happened, she was the last to leave. Ning Shu was not complaining. After all, this was what he should do. However, he felt helpless in front of Yi-Ro. Yi-Ro's Master and Senior Brothers had a deep influence on her. Ning Shu, an outsider, felt a pain in the ass. Yi Liang probably felt a pain in the ass. "So, I'm begging you, can you take me to the Yin-Yang sect? I'll come back after that." Ning Shu rejected her outright. "I'm not going to help you. Your brother saved me and I'm always thinking for him. But you have nothing to do with me. Why should I help you?" Yi-Ro's mouth was agape and her eyes were misty. She had probably never been treated like this before and was momentarily stunned. Yi Liang stood at the door and asked through gritted teeth, "Why do you want to go back? They don't have good intentions towards you. They want to use you as a furnace." "A furnace? Do you understand?" Yi Liang walked into the room and grabbed Yi-Ro's arm. He shook Yi-Ro as if trying to wake her up. Yi-Ro pushed Yi Liang away. "But Master and Senior Brothers are still very good to me. Even if they don't have good intentions, they have never harmed me." Ning Shu, Liang grabbed his hair in a frenzy and roared angrily, "If you want to leave, then leave." Yi-Ro bit her lip with her pearly white teeth. "Gone, really gone." Yi-Ro opened the door and left. Yi Liang was speechless. He had only said those words out of anger. Why did she really leave? Yi Liang hurriedly chased after her. Ning Shu also followed. The little fox was very displeased and shouted, "What are you doing? Running away again. Are you crazy?" The little fox also ran out. With the little fox's temperament, she completely did not understand the complex emotions of humans. Ning Shu caught up with Yi Liang. Yi Liang was about to stop Yi-Ro, who was running for her life. "If she wants to leave, then let her go. Her heart isn't here," Ning Shu said mildly. But, how dangerous was that? "We'll just follow behind her. It's very far from the Yin-Yang sect and she might not find the way there," Ning Shu said. Some things had to be experienced by oneself. Only after experiencing the joys and sorrows of life would one know the joys and sorrows of life. Ning Shu asked Yi Liang to buy some dry rations. She followed behind Yi-Ro at a leisurely pace. Yi-Ro ran with all her might. When she finally stopped, she had no idea where she was. Yi Liang followed and wanted to see Yi-Ro, but Ning Shu stopped him. "We'll just follow behind her and protect her. Let your sister see the world. Perhaps she won't miss her master and seniors so much. Perhaps she'll become independent," Ning Shu said. Since she was not his sister, he did not feel any heartache. Yi-Ro was not independent. Her thoughts were not independent. Her soul was not independent. Her money was not independent. No, there was no such thing as money in Yi-Ro's heart. She had no sense of survival. Yi Liang nodded with difficulty. Heavens, what a busy life. The little fox on Yi Liang's shoulder whimpered. I'm not even out of breath and now I have to run around again. Can't I rest for a while? Iro did not know where she was and could only find a random path. Liang and the rest followed behind her. Liang's heart ached as he looked at the helpless Iro. Iro met passers-by and asked if they knew how to get to the Yin-Yang sect. Ordinary people would not know where the Yin-Yang sect was. Iro asked a few more people and received the same answer. Iro could only walk forward. She held her stomach. She did not eat much at home. After walking for half a day, she was thirsty and tired. It was not that cultivators did not eat. Most of the time, they used fasting pills to prevent their bodies from being contaminated by mortal food. But with Iro's strength, it was impossible for her to not eat. Liang wanted to go forward, but Ning Shu stopped him. Let her be. But Liang could not bear to see his sister suffer like this. No matter how bad the situation is, can it be worse than this? Ning Shu asked. Liang sighed and put down the rations in his hand. Iro walked with difficulty. She had never left the courtyard before. She had never walked so far. Iro hammered her legs and came across a small stream. Iro's mouth was dry and the sun was scorching hot. Iro felt dizzy and did not care when she saw the water. She immediately scooped up some water and drank it. After drinking her fill, Iro leaned against a tree and sat down. Iro rested for a while and continued on her journey. She could not find a place to rest even when the sky was dark. Iro could only curl up and lean against the tree. Iro couldn't sleep at all because of the rustling and the cries of the strange birds. She was hungry and scared. Liang watched from a distance. He watched Iro and Ning Shu cleanse the souls in the Blood Soul banner step by step. Occasionally, he would walk around to see if there were any treasures. Ever since he entered this world, he had been running around every day. Ning Shu hoped to find the world's origin. After wandering around, he only found a few spirit herbs that were tasteless but could not be discarded. Finally, the sun rose. Iro hurried on her journey. Although Iro did not rest well, she was not attacked by wild beasts. Chapter 1205. Liang had taken care of all the wild beasts that attacked Iro. Otherwise, how could there be no wild beasts attacking Iro when she smelled so human? Especially since Iro was a cultivator, her scent and spirit chi were things that demon beasts liked. Iro hadn't eaten for almost a day and night. If it wasn't for the spirit chi in her body, she would have collapsed. Iro continued walking. Even she didn't know where to go. She could only walk forward because she couldn't find the way back. Iro was lucky and came across a small town. Iro hurried into the town and saw the steaming buns at the stall. Iro's eyes turned green when she saw the buns. Without thinking, she grabbed a bun and stuffed it into her mouth. What are you doing? Are you robbing me? Pay up, pay up. The stall owner grabbed Iro's clothes. Iro was really hungry. Even though she was grabbed by the collar, she still stuffed the bun into her mouth. Liang was trembling all over. He couldn't help but walk over to Iro. The little fox said, "Let your sister deal with it herself. Your sister can't even compare to a demon beast like me." Liang closed his eyes and breathed heavily. He decided not to watch. Pay up, pay up. Iro stuffed the bun into her mouth with difficulty. She was confused. What money? In the Yin-Yang sect, she could eat whatever she wanted. No one had ever asked her for money. Besides, the buns didn't taste good. Pay up. You can't leave today if you don't pay up. The stall owner held Iro tightly. Iro was confused and helpless. She kept apologizing. "I'm sorry. I can't afford it. Let go of me." "What are you sorry for? Pay up." Just then, a ruffian passed by. His eyes lit up when he saw Iro. He swaggered over. "How much?" "I'll pay." The ruffian spat and asked the stall owner. 5 copper coins. "I thought it was a lot." The ruffian threw 4 copper coins to the stall owner and pulled Iro away. Liang followed with an ashen face. Iro thanked the ruffian profusely. The ruffian rubbed his chin and sized Iro up. The ruffian's gaze was full of malice. Iro couldn't help but pull her clothes together. Iro was scared and helpless. She missed her master and senior brothers even more. He missed the days in the Yin-Yang sect, swinging on the swing under the bright sunshine. The courtyard was filled with flowers, and the breeze carried the fragrance of the flowers. Time passed peacefully. "You must be hungry. I'll bring you to eat something," Little Ruffian said to Iro. Iro's eyes lit up. "Thank you." So gullible? The Little Ruffian really wanted to whistle proudly. The Little Ruffian brought Iro to the brothel, ordered a table of dishes, and went to the side to ask the brothel keeper how much it would cost. The ruffian sold Iro for 20 taels of silver. After the ruffian left the brothel, the tendons in his arms and legs were severed by Liang. Liang squatted on the wall of the brothel and looked at his sister. He really wanted to rush in, but Liang held it in. For a moment, Liang felt a chill run down his spine. Iro had suffered so much, but she still insisted on returning to the Yin-Yang sect. This made Liang angry and hateful, but he could not ignore her. Iro was still in a daze when she was locked up by the brothel keeper. She even checked Iro's body. Seeing that Iro was still a virgin, she was even happier. The brothel madam saw that Iro was delicate and pretty, so she decided to auction off her virginity with some other girls 2 days later. On the day of the auction, Iro was dressed up beautifully. She was pushed onto the stage and auctioned off like an item. From the beginning to the end, Iro was dumbfounded. She looked at the crazy men below the stage in shock. These people were extremely ugly. Even though Iro did not know what was going on, these people made her feel disgusted. Iro's innocent look made the men like her even more. They bit even more crazily. This world was just as her master and senior brothers had said. It was extremely sinister. Iro would rather stay in a small courtyard and live a simple life. Occasionally, she would talk to her senior brothers. She did not have to face so many people. Iro looked at the men below the stage. Their faces were oily and their saliva was flying everywhere. These people could not even compare to her brother's looks, let alone her senior brothers. Even her master was a handsome middle-aged man. Liang leaned on the roof beam. He lifted the roof tile and looked at his sister being auctioned off. He clenched his fists so tightly that they made creaking sounds. Ning Shu could not help but click his tongue. The female lead's fate was so unlucky. While the auction was going on, someone whispered something into the brothel keeper's ear. The brothel keeper's expression changed. She immediately said that the girl was not going to be auctioned and pulled Iro away. The brothel keeper ignored the protests of the people below the stage and pulled Iro to a room. A man in a brocade robe stood in the room. The man turned around and looked at Iro. "Junior sister." "Senior brother." Iro's tears fell immediately. She hugged Wolf. Wolf smirked and patted Iro's back. "Didn't you leave with your brother? Why you here?" "I wanted to say goodbye to my master and all of you, so I ran out." Iro's voice was sobbing. "Senior brother, why you here?" Iro withdrew from Wolf's embrace and asked while wiping her tears. "I came to look for you. This brothel belongs to the Yin-Yang sect. I was resting here. Master and senior brothers went out to look for you. I did not expect to meet you first." Liang, who was on the roof, was speechless. Ning Shu was speechless. This plot was really fucked by Xiao Tianquan. This place was so far away from the Yin-Yang sect. How did Wolf appear here? Was it because of the attraction between the male and female leads? They could even meet each other like this. Ning Shu looked at Liang, whose face was as dark as the night sky. He silently felt sorry for Liang. "Xiao Rou, do you want to go back to the Yin-Yang sect with me? Master is very worried about you." Wolf asked and pinched Iro's face. "It's only been a few days. How did you lose so much weight?" Iro felt a lump in her throat. When she heard her senior brother's words, she felt very wronged. "No, Ro cannot go back to the Yin-Yang sect with you." Liang could not help but jump into the room through the window. Little Wolf shielded Iro behind him. When he saw Liang, he sneered, "You keep saying that we don't have good intentions towards little Ro. What about you? You watched as your sister was sold in a brothel and you didn't even show up. How good are you as her brother?" "I will not let Ro get hurt," Liang said angrily. Wolf sneered and turned his head. Your brother has been following you all this time. I watched you suffer, watched you get bullied, didn't have enough to eat, didn't have warm clothes, and was always worried. You don't distort the truth. Yi Liang was so angry that he wanted to die. Yi Rou asked Yi Liang, Brother, have you been following me all this time? Of course I was following you. Otherwise, I would not have suddenly appeared in front of you. Wolf smirked. He lifted his chin and looked at Yi Liang provocatively. Chapter 1206. This was clearly a meeting between brother-in-law and brother-in-law, but it was so tense. No, Yi Liang would have many brothers-in-law. Although the atmosphere wasn't right, Ning Shu still wanted to light a candle for Yi Liang. It seemed that Yi Liang was about to walk the path of a villain, the destroyer of his sisters and brothers-in-law's blissful sex life. This plot. Yi Liang's heart was incomparably irritable. He followed behind Yi Rou, but he wasn't like what Wolf had said. He wasn't someone who would watch his sister suffer. But how could he explain this? Ruru is our beloved junior sister, but how did you treat her? You made her travel through mountains and rivers alone, and she was even tricked into going to a brothel. Is this your responsibility as a brother? Love her in every way? Ning Shu's heart wasn't pure anymore. Yi Rou had only traveled a short distance, and Yi Liang had to find her. How could he explain the pain and suffering he had to go through? So Yi Liang opened his mouth a few times, but couldn't say a word. Wolf sneered. He grabbed Yi Rou's waist and flew out of the room. He then took out a magic tool and stepped on it to fly far away. Ning Shu released the water dragon and said to the stunned Yi Liang, Get on, they've run far away. Yi Liang hurriedly jumped on the water dragon. The night wind blew by their ears, and it was a bit cold. Ning Shu heard Yi Liang sigh behind him. Is it because I can't give Rou the life she wants? Is that why she's like this? Ning Shu was silent for a moment, then said, Yi Liang, you are you. Your sister and you are two different individuals. Besides having the same blood, you are two completely different individuals. You don't need to do anything for your sister. Everyone has their own destiny. Obviously, your interference changed your sister's life, and your sister doesn't like this change. Ning Shu said bluntly. But I can't just watch her jump into a fire pit. Yi Liang said firmly. But your sister doesn't think it's a fire pit. Ning Shu said lightly. His indifferent voice was like a knife that stabbed into Yi Liang's heart. The biggest weakness of humans was that they couldn't hear the truth. He always felt that he was right and staked everything on a single throw, completely ignoring the opposition and advice of the people around him. Those who were luckier might have a good life, but most of them would end in tragedy. Especially when she was staking everything on a single throw. Take Yi Rou for example. The water dragon's speed was very fast. Soon, it was in front of the two of them. The two of them were suspended in the air. Rou, come home with me. You can't stay with these people. Yi Liang shouted at Yi Rou. The night wind carried Yi Rou's voice far away, drifting through the forest. Yi Rou lowered her head and said nothing. Yi Liang suddenly let out a long sigh. The tone of his sigh was so complex that Ning Shu almost laughed out loud. He didn't know why, but he just wanted to laugh. Yi Rou, do you really want to go with him? Yi Liang looked at Yi Rou. Yi Rou didn't notice how Yi Liang addressed her. In the past, he used to call her Rou, little sister. Now, he was calling her by her full name. Yi Rou stuttered. She couldn't say anything for a long time, but she clutched Wolf's clothes tightly. Her choice was obvious. Wolf's lips curled into a smile. Yi Liang said, Whether you want to go back with me or not, I will take you with me. Father and mother gave you a heavenly spirit root. They didn't give you to be someone's human cauldron. Brother. Yi Rou couldn't help but shout. Yi Liang's face was indifferent. Even if you hate me, I won't allow you to go to the Yin Yang sect. I will definitely kill you. Yi Liang looked at Wolf. If I don't destroy the Yin Yang sect, I'm not human. Ning Shu, swear not to be human. Isn't Wolf a human now? But Yi Liang's villainous aura was getting stronger. Wolf's expression was sarcastic, but he was still nervous. His gaze swept over Ning Shu. Clearly, He was thinking of Ning Shu's water dragon. Brother, don't be like this. I beg you. Yi Rou stood in front of Wolf. They don't want to make me into a human cauldron. They are really good to me. Yi Liang didn't say a word. He released the mighty Qilin and pounced on Wolf. Wolf pushed Yi Rou away and started fighting with the Qilin. Yi Rou was pushed to the ground. Seeing her brother fighting with Wolf, she was very worried. Ning Shu walked to Yi Rou's side. Yi Rou hurriedly said to Ning Shu, "Hurry up and stop them." Ning Shu was very curious about what Yi Rou was thinking. He asked, "Do you like Wolf?" "I do. Master and senior brothers all like him." Yi Rou said, "They are like brother. They are all my family." Ning Shu felt a little stupid. Why did he have to look for logic in this world? Everything was for the sake of flesh. It was only lust. Senior brothers and sisters, master and disciple, there was no etiquette, only lust. Ning Shu outlined a fiery scene in his mind. Your brother is doing this for your own good. The Yin-Yang sect isn't as beautiful as it seems. The reason you can stay here until now is because of your bone structure. Ning Shu said calmly. Yi Rou didn't say anything. She stared nervously at the two people fighting. Ning Shu suddenly grew a claw and slapped it on Yi Rou's stomach. Yi Rou's stomach made a soft sound. Yi Rou frowned. Her stomach hurt a little, but it was still bearable. The feeling came and went quickly. Yi Rou didn't pay much attention to her stomach. She asked, "What are you doing?" Ning Shu said calmly, "Nothing. I wanted to knock you out, but I didn't succeed." Yi Rou immediately distanced herself from Ning Shu. The little fox slowly walked to Ning Shu's side. "Even if you wanted to knock her out, why didn't you hit her head? Why did you hit her stomach? Eat your candied fruit." Ning Shu stared at Yi Liang and Little Wolf who were fighting. As the direct disciple of the Yin-Yang sect master, Little Wolf naturally had a lot of magic tools on him. He had already taken out a few magic tools. Yi Liang, on the other hand, was fighting Little Wolf with his bare hands and a Qilin. Yi Liang's expression was cold. His attacks were especially fierce. He fought without any regard for his life. He wanted nothing more than to perish together with his opponent. Yi Liang didn't care whether he was injured or not. This caused Little Wolf to be at a disadvantage. Yi Liang's heart was filled with anger. He couldn't vent it on Yi Rou, so he could only vent it on the culprit. Yi Liang hated the Yin-Yang sect for destroying his family. His sister still believed in the Yin-Yang sect. She didn't care about anything he said. Yi Liang's heart was filled with anger. He desperately needed to vent it. He even started to doubt his efforts these days. In other words, Yi Liang started to doubt everything. Ning Shu stared at Yi Liang. His eyes were red and his face was trembling. His expression was fierce and painful. He hit Little Wolf so hard that he spat out blood. Chapter 1207. Yi Rou saw Wolf spit out blood and immediately rushed over to support him. "Brother, stop." Yi Rou reached out her hand to Yi Liang. Yi Liang stopped in his tracks. He was a bit out of breath and couldn't catch his breath. Ning Shu deeply felt that moral values weren't important. What was important was one's facial features. The little fox chewed on her candied fruit and impatiently shouted at Yi Liang, "If you don't listen, then hit her. If you don't hit her, she'll really think she's a fairy." Ning Shu, that makes sense. Yi Liang walked over to Yi Rou and really raised his hand to slap Yi Rou's face. Yi Rou was stunned by the slap. "Little fox, I was just casually saying." Even Wolf, who was holding his chest and spitting out blood, was stunned. "Brother." Yi Rou widened her eyes at the emotionless Yi Liang. Yi Rou felt wronged. "Mom and Dad died early and couldn't educate you. An elder brother is like a father, so I had to fulfill my responsibility as a parent." Wolf saw that Yi Rou's mouth was bleeding and hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe it off. Yi Rou forced a smile at Wolf. What a pair of lovers. One was a cold and emotionless brother, the other was a sweet senior brother. Yi Liang and Yi Rou didn't have a deep relationship. Apart from blood ties, they were strangers. It went without saying who they favored. Every lie was wrapped in a sweet coating. Wolf hugged Yi Rou and gritted his teeth. He jumped onto the flying magic tool and activated a secret technique. In the blink of an eye, they were far away, becoming a small black dot. Yi Liang stared in the direction they disappeared. Ning Shu walked to Yi Liang's side and said, "You have your life, she has hers. Everyone has to pay the price for their own choices. You don't have to carry this responsibility. You want to carry her, but she's not grateful. I don't understand why Yi Ro is like this." Yi Liang frowned. "Yin Yang sect, Yin Yang sect." Yi Liang muttered the 3 words. Ning Shu said, "You spend too little time with your sister. You can't ask her to do anything, and you can't interfere with her decisions and life." Ning Shu said, "Don't feel depressed. Even if the whole world let you down and betrayed you, you still have to smile and say to fate, it's nothing." Yi Liang turned around and looked at Ning Shu silently without saying a word. "You don't like chicken soup for the soul?" Ning Shu asked. "Then give me a bowl of poisonous chicken soup." Cough. How can you welcome the storm without experiencing the storm? You must work very, very hard to believe that you are truly powerless. As long as you work hard, there's nothing you can't mess up. Yi Liang. Yi Liang, you can't wake up a person who is pretending to be asleep, but your sister will definitely wake up. Ning Shu said, "What you need to do is to calm down and cultivate. Only when you're strong can you do what you want. With your current strength, going against the Yin Yang sect is like throwing an egg against a rock. Also, I can't be by your side forever." The little fox said, "I also need to return to the clan to cultivate. I don't have time to wander around outside. I'm too weak." "What do you plan to do now?" Ning Shu asked. Yi Liang stared in the direction the 2 disappeared. He turned around and said, "Go home." Yi Liang's conscience thought that Yi Ro was only 11 years old. He shouldn't be able to turn her into a furnace so quickly. He had to fight for 2 years. He had to become strong before going to the Yin Yang sect. He had to fight the Yin Yang sect to the end. The Yin Yang sect was Yi Liang's first goal in life. However, things often exceeded Yi Liang's expectations. Little Wolf used a secret technique to escape. However, this secret technique overdrew on Little Wolf's lifespan and cultivation future. After escaping for a while, Little Wolf couldn't take it anymore. He collapsed, scaring Yi Ro. Little Wolf looked at Yi Ro with a pale face. He said weakly, "I can't take it anymore." Yi Ro's tears rolled down like a curtain of beads. She sobbed and said, "Senior brother, you'll be fine." "You won't." Yi Ro never thought that one of her senior brothers would leave her. She panicked and said, "Is there a way to save you?" Wait. Little Wolf was only suffering from the aftereffects of using a secret technique. His body was weak, but he wasn't dying. Seeing Yi Ro cry and worry, his eyes flashed. Little Wolf clutched his chest. He was so weak that he looked like he was about to die. "There is a way to save me. You can save me." "What way?" Yi Ro quickly asked. "Little Ro, do you trust me?" Little Wolf held Yi Ro's hand. Yi Ro nodded with tears in her eyes. "I trust you. Trust me. I won't hurt you." Little Wolf pressed down on Yi Ro's body. His pale face flushed red. Yi Ro instinctively felt that something was wrong with being pressed down by Little Wolf, but she chose to trust him. Little Wolf endured the pain in his meridians and slowly undid Yi Ro's clothes. His eyes were filled with eagerness. Little Ro's primordial Yin was something that his master and several senior brothers coveted. Since Yi Ro was still young, they didn't mention it, but they all thought about it. If he took advantage of this opportunity to steal Little Ro's primordial Yin, even if his master and senior brothers blamed him in the future, what's done can't be undone. Moreover, Little Ro was willing to do it. Little Wolf's heart was filled with wishful thinking as he continued to tease Yi Ro. Yi Ro felt very strange. She felt comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time. She felt an inexplicable sense of shame, but her body was soft. In the end, she melted into a pool of water. Yi Ro innocently and confusedly asked Little Wolf, "Senior brother, what did you do to me?" "Be good. Senior brother will make you very, very comfortable." Little Wolf's voice was low and hoarse. He felt that it was about time, so he went straight to the point. Little Wolf's main goal was to steal Yi Ro's primordial Yin. This time, Yi Ro's face twisted in pain. Her body was still very young. Yi-ro felt as if her body was about to be pierced. Senior brother, Yi-ro cried out. Bear with it. Just bear with it. Little Wolf comforted Yi-ro carelessly. He minded his own business and began to move. Although there was some pain, Yi-ro gradually felt less uncomfortable. Instead, there was a strange feeling of numbness. This feeling spread throughout her limbs and bones. Little Wolf looked at the aroused Yi-ro and couldn't help but smile. Although Yi-ro wasn't made into a human cauldron, she was still given some medicinal pills to make her body more sensitive. That place was very tight. Although it was cultivation, she still had to enjoy extreme pleasure. Therefore, although Yi-ro was only 11 or 12 years old, her body was ready to be taken at any time. Yi-ro's body was red. Her body rose and fell. She had fallen into an indescribable bliss. Little Wolf, who was lying on top of Yi-ro, had a strange expression. He frowned. Why was there no power flowing into his body? His injuries hadn't healed. It was even worse than an ordinary human cauldron. Using an ordinary human cauldron, he could still steal power. Chapter 1208. Wolf had already overdrawn his body in hopes of obtaining Yi-ro's Yin essence. In the end, he didn't gain any power. He didn't gain any Yin essence either. Wolf, who had slept with countless women, naturally knew that Yi-ro was a virgin. However, why didn't she gain any Yin essence? Wolf endured the exhaustion and pain in his body and plowed the ground for a long time. In the end, he still didn't gain any power. Wolf angrily stopped plowing. Yi-ro had already fainted and her face was extremely red. Wolf was puzzled. What was going on? Could it be that someone had sealed Yi-ro's power? He didn't gain any power and was instead exhausted to death. Wolf grabbed Yi-ro's collar and returned to the Yin-yang sect. After returning home, Yi-liang began to cultivate seriously. The little fox suffered in the Yin-yang sect and began to cultivate seriously. Sometimes she would run back to the clan, but she was often nowhere to be seen. Ning Shu worked day and night to disperse the Yin essence in the blood-soul flag. The days were unprecedentedly peaceful. Yi-liang was slowly growing taller. He was different from the thin and weak Yi-liang that Ning Shu first met. Yi-liang was growing up into a man. Knowing that Ning Shu was a fox, Yi-liang would prepare some meat for Ning Shu every meal. Ning Shu was sick of eating meat every meal. He told Yi-liang not to waste money and that he would eat whatever Yi-liang ate. Yi-liang would occasionally buy some candied fruits and leave them at home. The little fox would have snacks when she returned. Although the days were peaceful, Ning Shu could tell that Yi-liang was not at peace. He was clearly worried about Yi-ro. Yi-liang continued to cultivate without stopping. He cultivated again and again, almost without stopping. What's wrong? Why are you so tired? During the meal, Ning Shu saw that Yi-liang was restless. His eyes were bloodshot, as if he hadn't rested well. The other possibility was that he had gone berserk. Yi-liang drank a mouthful of porridge and rubbed his forehead. I don't feel good. My heart is pounding. I keep feeling that something has happened to Ruru. It's been 3 months and there's still no news from Ruru. In the end, I became more and more restless. I keep feeling that something has happened to her. Now, even my cultivation has stagnated. I don't know if it's an illusion or what, but I keep hearing Ruru calling me, asking me to save her. What do you want to do? Ning Shu asked. Go to the Yin-yang sect? Yi-liang couldn't help but clutch his chest. His heart began to beat uncontrollably like a drum, only returning to normal after a long while. Ning Shu had no objections. If you want to go, then go. But can the two of us really go? Although he wanted to save his sister, he also knew that it would be difficult for the two of them to break into the Yin-yang sect. Ning Shu felt that Yi-liang should go and save them. Then let's go. If we don't go, it's useless for you to be anxious here, Ning Shu said. Yi-liang nodded and tidied up. He bought some food, water, and a weapon. After tidying up, Ning Shu released the water dragon. Yi-liang jumped onto the water dragon and disappeared in a flash. The distance from the small town to the Yin-yang sect was not short. Even the fast water dragon took about 2 days to arrive. The Skystream Valley was still shrouded in white fog. Yi Liang was a little worried. How do we get in? Last time, they had entered because of a Yin Yang sect disciple. It would not be easy to do the same thing again. Ning Shu said calmly, "There's no need. We'll charge in with brute force." The water dragon flew to the top of the barrier. Its body grew larger and more solid. Then, it slammed its tail on the array formation's barrier. The barrier trembled twice, but it didn't break. The water dragon continued to smash the barrier. Ning Shu injected a lot of spirit chi into the water dragon. The spirit chi flowed into the water dragon's body like water. The water dragon's body became more solid, and its strength increased. With a loud bang, it slammed on the barrier. The barrier broke with a loud bang. "How dare you? Who is it?" A loud shout was heard. The Yin Yang sect master's pupils constricted when he saw the water dragon. Ning Shu ignored him and rushed straight into the Yin Yang sect. "Ru, where are you?" Yi Liang leaned on the water dragon and shouted, "Bastard!" The Yin Yang sect master was so angry that his face turned pale. Anyone who saw someone barging into their sect so brazenly would be furious. Yi Liang ignored the Yin Yang sect master's warning and attack. He released the Qilin. The Qilin was so huge that it destroyed an entire house. There was also the water dragon. Wherever the water dragon passed, the houses were swept into ruins by its tail. The Yin Yang sect disciples saw that the water dragon had surrounded them. Such a big commotion alarmed all the disciples of the Yin Yang sect. They floated in the air and surrounded Ning Shu and Yi Liang. "You keep coming to the Yin Yang sect to cause trouble again and again. Do you think the Yin Yang sect is a pushover?" The Yin Yang sect master's face was ashen. "Hand over my sister," Yi Liang roared. "Your sister isn't even in the Yin Yang sect," Song Han sneered. "What do you mean?" Yi Liang asked with an ugly expression. Ning Shu closed his eyes and sensed. Then he opened his eyes and said, "Don't worry about them. I know where she is." The water dragon under his feet dashed in a direction. The Yin Yang sect master's face darkened. "Stop them." The Qilin knocked these people away. Ning Shu arrived at the top of a house. "She should be inside. Let's go look for her." Yi Liang jumped off the water dragon and followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu felt that his senses were getting stronger and stronger. When he arrived at a room, he was blocked by a wall. Yi Liang didn't say anything. He punched the stone wall open. This was a secret room. In the secret room, there was a cage made of fine iron. A girl was sleeping in the cage. Her body was in a mess. Her clothes were stained with dried black and red blood. "Row, row, row, row," Yi Liang shouted from outside the cage. Yi Ro opened her eyes weakly. When she saw Yi Liang, her lips moved. "Brother!" Yi Ro was very weak. She lay on the ground without moving. Yi Liang lifted the heavy cage and carried Yi Ro out of the secret room. The moment they came out, they were surrounded. Yi Liang was already angry that his sister was treated like this. When he saw Yi Ro's master and senior brothers, his eyes turned red. Ning Shu released the water dragon. The water dragon swung its tail and swept away some of the weaker people. "We're leaving soon." Yi Liang quickly jumped on the water dragon. The water dragon flew towards the door and rushed to the barrier. The water dragon kept hitting the barrier. This barrier was much stronger than before. The water dragon hit the barrier for a while but couldn't break it. The Yin Yang sect people had already caught up. Ning Shu inspected the array formation. This array formation had already changed. It was different from the previous one. Ning Shu looked for a way to break the array. Then, the water dragon hit the array. Yi Liang released the Qilin to fight with these people. In the end, the barrier was broken. The water dragon carried Ning Shu and Yi Liang and left the Yin Yang sect at an extremely fast speed. They didn't stop for a rest along the way. They flew all the way back to the town. Chapter 1209. Upon returning home, Yi Liang checked Yi Ro's body and found that the tendons in her hands and feet had been severed. Yi Liang found it hard to accept. His sister had suddenly become like this. Did the Yin-Yang sect vent their anger on his sister because of him? Ning Shu pressed his hand on Yi Ro's stomach. Her Yin essence was still there, so her spirit root should also be there. A woman's body had something called a pubis. It was said to be a woman's strength. Yi Ro's pubis had been shattered by Ning Shu. Spirit chi wrapped around the fragments, sealing her strength and Yin essence. Yi Ro's current situation was what Ning Shu had expected. Yi Ro's value was to provide these people with strength, but she was no longer useful. However, he did not expect her tendons to be severed. However, her body had spirit chi. If she cultivated slowly, her tendons and meridians could be rebuilt. Yi Liang saw his sister's injuries. Her fair skin was bruised. These bruises looked very intimate. As a man, Yi Liang's eyes turned red. Tears almost fell out of his eyes. Yi Liang wiped Yi Ro's body with water. After he was done, he cooked some porridge. When Yi Ro woke up, she was a little confused. When she saw Yi Liang beside the bed, her tears immediately fell. Ro, don't cry. Eat something. Yi Liang helped Yi Ro up and let her lean on his body. He fed her spoonful by spoonful. Yi Ro's tendons in her hands and feet were severed. Her limbs were soft. If you cultivate well, your meridians can be rebuilt, Ning Shu said. Yi Ro clearly had not recovered from the shock. Her eyes were blank, and her soul had left her body. Yi Liang helped Yi Ro lie down. When he went out, he heard soft sobbing. Yi Liang sighed. He could not help but say worriedly, "What should we do now?" There's always a way out. After this incident, perhaps your sister won't be cheated by the Yin-Yang sect anymore. Ning Shu comforted him. That's right. You're right. But she was taken away by the Yin-Yang sect at such a young age. Yi Liang rubbed his brows. Ning Shu sneered and said, "So what if she was defiled by the Yin-Yang school's people? Your sister has heavenly spirit roots. Once she changes her cultivation method, your sister will become the heavens Jiao. The matter of the Yang school is just a hurdle in her life. When your sister is strong, she won't need to rely on men. Why would she be afraid of men disliking her? She could live a good life, so why should she care about men? Since it had already happened, there was no need to care about the man who despised her." Yi Liang scratched his head. "I was thinking too much. Now that I think about it, it's not a big deal. It's good enough that my sister is back by my side. I will definitely find Ruru a husband who loves her in the future." Ning Shu, why was she so obsessed with men? Was there no other way for a woman to survive other than marrying? Yi Liang did his best to take care of Yi Ro. Yi Ro's body was much better, but her limbs were still weak. Ning Shu sat cross-legged at the foot of the bed. He removed the Yin Qi from the blood soul flag while looking after Yi Ro. Sometimes, Yi Ro would talk to Ning Shu. Her expression was lost and helpless. Yi Ro didn't understand. Her master and senior brothers seemed to have changed into different people. Each of them took turns to violate her body. Of course, Yi Ro didn't realize that they were violating her. When they knew it was over, their expressions were unusually angry and disappointed. The way they looked at her was no longer as gentle as before. Later, these people violated her again and again. Their expressions became more and more unfriendly. They fed her all kinds of medicine and checked her body. In the end, they locked her up and broke her limbs. Ning Shu's expression was calm. This was within his expectations. If nothing unexpected happened, Yi Ro would always be in their hands. But if she had no value, she could only be discarded. Ning Shu passed on a cultivation method to Yi Ro and told her to cultivate it well. She would definitely be able to stand up again soon. However, Yi Ro still washed her face with tears every day. She couldn't accept such a blow. Ning Shu felt impatient. What was the point of being so pretentious in the face of survival? Yi Liang made a wheelchair. When he had nothing to do, he would push Yi Ro into the courtyard. Yi Liang planted some flowers in the courtyard. They bloomed beautifully. Clearly, they were planted especially for Yi Ro. Yi Ro was still depressed. Ning Shu released the water dragon and said to Yi Liang, "Take your sister. We're going out for a stroll. There's no point in strolling in the courtyard. If we want to stroll, let's go further." Yi Liang jumped onto the water dragon with Yi Ro on his back. The water dragon slowly shuttled through the clouds and landed on the street. This was the market next to the small town. It was much more prosperous than the small town. Yi Liang walked on the street with Yi Ro on his back. Look! Ning Shu lifted his chin and looked at the corner of the street. There was an old woman. She was covered in dirt and had a broken bowl in front of her. If it weren't for your brother, you would be like this. Tortured to death by the Yin Yang sect. Ning Shu said faintly, only when you have food to eat, clothes to wear, and people to serve you will you have the heart to be sad. Your brother doesn't owe you anything. You have no right to accept your brother's care so naturally. There was a limit to a person's kindness and patience when it came to taking advantage of other people's kindness in large amounts. Your brother is like that child. A child ran past Yi Liang. He was skinny and didn't have enough to eat. Yi Liang looked at the child. He used to be like that. It was Blackie who changed him. Yi Ro's tears fell. I feel terrible. Leave her here. She'll have to worry about her next meal every day. Then she won't think so much, Ning Shu said casually. Yi Liang, brother, don't. Yi Ro was afraid that Yi Liang would really leave her at the corner of the street. She immediately begged. I won't. Yi Liang comforted her. Yi Liang took Yi Ro to walk around. He bought all kinds of toys to make Yi Ro happy. Yi Ro looked at these toys and thought of her senior brothers. They also liked to bring her all kinds of toys. Yi Ro's eyes were filled with tears again. She turned and saw the fox staring at her. She forced her tears back. She didn't know why, but she was a little afraid of this fox. She could be willful in front of her brother. But this fox's cold attitude made Yi Ro feel uncomfortable. Because the fox's words were unpleasant and he wouldn't tolerate her. People were righteous in front of people who loved them. After walking around, the group went back. After Yi Ro went back, she started to cultivate according to the cultivation method Ning Shu taught her. Because the meridians in her hands and feet were broken, her cultivation speed was very slow. But fortunately, she had a celestial spirit root. Although the speed was slow, it was stable. It was faster than the average person with a mixed spirit root. Ning Shu saw that Yi Ro had started to cultivate and heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for Yi Liang, she wouldn't have put in so much effort. Since it was to repay Yi Liang, she couldn't make Yi Liang's sister look like a ghost. Chapter 12:10. Ning Shu was doing all this for Yi Liang's sake. Otherwise, she wouldn't have bothered. If she could reunite Yi Liang and his sister, she might be able to accumulate some benefits. A celestial spirit root was a favorite for cultivation. The heavens had given her such a good resource, but she wasted it. It was too wasteful. On the contrary, those who were determined and wanted to go against the heavens and fight for their lives did not have such unique conditions. He felt that Yi Ro only had such good conditions to show that she was different. She was just giving the Yin Yang sect a ladder. She had to have the reason and conditions to indulge in sex. Ning Shu peacefully purified the souls in the blood-soul banner. After Ning Shu's persistent exorcism, the baleful Yin Qi inside was greatly reduced. Without the nourishment of the baleful Yin Qi, the soul was exposed. Some of the souls were thin, while others were solid. As long as the last bit of Yin energy was resolved, these souls could be purified. In his free time, Ning Shu asked Yi Ro, "Do you hate them?" "No, but I hate them. I just don't know why they did this to me," Yi Ro said in confusion. All right, a pure person's mind was pure. She didn't even hate them. You will understand in the future, Ning Shu said lightly. Such a personality was suitable to be a canary. After a period of purification, the Yin energy in the blood-soul banner was completely gone. Ning Shu said to Yi Liang, "Release the souls inside. You can see your parents." Yi Liang took the blood-soul banner and released the souls. Some of the souls were dull, while others were so thin that they almost disappeared. A black hole slowly appeared. These souls instinctively floated towards the black hole. Yi Liang tried his best to find his parents, but there were too many souls. Yi Liang couldn't find them at all. He could only keep calling for his parents. These souls passed through Yi Liang's body. Yi Liang still couldn't find his parents' souls. "Give me a strand of your hair," Ning Shu said to Yi Liang. Yi Liang plucked the hair without thinking. Ning Shu chanted an incantation, and the hair floated up. Ning Shu said, "Your parents are your closest kin. Follow the hair." Yi Liang stared at the hair without blinking and found the two souls holding hands. It was a man and a woman. The woman's soul was stronger than the man's. The man's soul was so transparent that it almost disappeared. "Father, mother," Yi Liang immediately called out. The woman turned her head in astonishment and looked at Yi Liang, speechless. As for the man's soul, his expression was sluggish as he relied on the woman to protect him. "Liang." The woman opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "Hurry up and let her go. The passageway is about to close," Ning Shu said. The black hole was getting smaller and smaller. Without entering the passageway, one would not be able to reincarnate. Until now, Ning Shu still hadn't figured out what the other half of the black hole was. Could it be hell? "Mother, I will take good care of sister," Yi Liang said with tears in his eyes. The woman smiled at Yi Liang and led the man away, entering the black hole. The black hole became smaller and smaller until it finally disappeared as if it had never appeared. Yi Liang squatted on the ground, buried his head and cried for a long time. Then he prepared memorial tablets for his parents and burned 3 sticks of incense every day. The days were peaceful and quiet. Apart from taking care of his sister, Yi Liang cultivated and improved his strength. Ning Shu guessed that Yi Liang wanted to destroy the Yin-Yang sect. However, Ning Shu recently had a strange feeling in his heart. He felt like something was staring at him. It was a dangerous and yearning feeling. Was she about to transcend the tribulation? She was not weak now. It was time for her to transcend the tribulation. Ning Shu bid farewell to Yi Liang. When Yi Liang heard that Ning Shu was leaving, he was stunned. He hurriedly asked, "Will you come back?" "Maybe, maybe not," Ning Shu said ambiguously. "Little Black, I hope you can come back," Yi Liang said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. "Maybe I will come back when I'm free. Cultivate well. In the future, you will definitely become incomparably strong. You will be able to protect the things you want to protect. Don't get involved in karma." Ning Shu jumped over the courtyard wall and ran into the forest. Ning Shu felt that he had done enough. He had repaid the favor of saving his life. Giving himself to him was pure nonsense. Ning Shu ran deep into the mountain. Tribulation clouds came from the horizon and floated above Ning Shu. Sure enough, he was about to transcend the tribulation. With a rumbling sound, a bolt of lightning struck Ning Shu. Ning Shu hurriedly dodged. However, the lightning seemed to have locked onto Ning Shu, making it impossible for her to dodge. A bolt of lightning struck Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain. Her muscles and bones felt like they had been shattered. The fur on his body was charred, leaving behind a clump of black. Moreover, the lightning was getting stronger each time. Although the spirit chi in her body could alleviate her injuries, the lightning was too dense and showed no signs of stopping. Ning Shu did not know how other fays went through their tribulations. However, her lightning tribulation really came wave after wave. It did not stop at all. No wonder Bai Sanyang was smashed to pieces in the thunder tribulation, and her soul almost dissipated. Moreover, Ning Shu's heart could not help but think of the worlds she had experienced. There were also her biological parents and brother. Those were things that were very distant. Was this to draw out her inner demon? Ning Shu gritted her teeth to keep her emotions stable. After experiencing so many worlds, this was the first time she had gone through a tribulation. The lightning struck Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu's cells were wailing in pain. Ning Shu released the water dragon and let it temporarily block the lightning. She really could not breathe. With a loud bang, the lightning tribulation draped over the water dragon's body and split it into water droplets. Soon, these water droplets gathered and formed the water dragon to block the lightning tribulation again. One after another, the lightning tribulation struck the water dragon's body. The water dragon was split into water droplets again and again. However, it seemed that the water dragon was also getting stronger. Previously, it was split into water droplets, but now it was only split in half and quickly merged back together. The thunder rumbled for a long time before the tribulation clouds finally dissipated. Ning Shu felt a powerful force enter her body, and her limbs slowly grew out of her body. Ning Shu was not wearing any clothes, her body was naked. Then, white clothes appeared on her body. These clothes should be made of her own fur. The feeling of transforming into a human form was really quite strange. Ning Shu was used to running on 4 legs. Walking on 2 legs, she felt that her center of gravity was not stable. Ning Shu looked at the water dragon that had blocked the lightning tribulation for her for a period of time. The water dragon's body was becoming more solid, and its eyes were becoming more spirited. After being baptized by the lightning tribulation, the water dragon became more spirited than before. She hoped that one day, the water dragon would be able to form its own intelligence. Ning Shu let out a long breath. She had finally survived this tribulation. In the face of the power of heaven and earth, human strength was so small. It was really frightening. Chapter 12:11. Ning Shu looked into the stream and saw that Bai Sanyang's face was not bad. She did not have the seductive charm of a fox, but was cold. Dressed in white, she gave off the feeling of Chang-yi from the Moon Palace. Ning Shu tiptoed and flew up to the top of a branch. Looking at the endless mountain range, it was really pleasing to the eye. Ning Shu cultivated alone in the mountains. When she had nothing to do, she would look around to see if there were any heavenly materials or earthly treasures. However, Ning Shu found some treasures, such as the 10,000-year stalactite. Ning Shu swallowed a drop and it was all absorbed by the water dragon. Unfortunately, the water dragon was not a living creature. If it was, she could exchange it for the wisdom pill. Other than cultivation, Ning Shu sometimes went to the town for a walk. Ning Shu occasionally went back to see Liang, but only secretly. He did not appear in front of Liang. He left after seeing him. Without her, Liang was still living well with Yi-Ro. Yi-Ro's meridians had not been reconstructed, so she could not walk yet. However, the brother and sister lived a peaceful life. As for the Yin-Yang sect, that was Yi Liang's business. It had nothing to do with her. Ning Shu returned to the depths of the mountains and continued to cultivate, living an incomparably simple life. However, Ning Shu's heart was very calm. He was far away from the hustle and bustle of the crowd and noise. His heart was unprecedentedly calm. Ding, mission completed. Do you want to enter the mission world immediately? 2333's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind. Ning Shu nodded, let's go. Ning Shu was in a daze for a moment. When he opened his eyes again, he was already in the system space. Ning Shu saw the wall of the system space. The black hole created by the fusion of the 2 beads was getting bigger and bigger. He estimated that it would be a while before they completely fused. Ning Shu first sat cross-legged on the ground to cultivate, absorbing the pure soul energy. After cultivating, Ning Shu took out the Buddhist bead bracelet and chanted the clear heart mantra. Let his mind be clear. After it was over, Ning Shu let out a long breath, letting out all the depression. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the ground and opened the attribute panel. Serial number, 2333 name, Ning Shu Senior Mission Taker Age, 27 points, 46. 15 million soul value, 340 HP, 121 intelligence, 354 charm, 40 luck, 219 spiritual power, 250 faith, 15515 combat power, 372 aptitude, 139 merit, 13410 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate combat technique, exceptional martial arts proficiency, intermediate poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skills, beginner ghost catching skills. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Items, Calm Halo, Tranquilizer, Faith Halo, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet 2. Aura, Mother of the World Empress Blessing, Model Worker Sister Chen Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura Grass Blessing, Lifelong Friend Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Life-Saving Hand Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, founding female General Chen Ermiai's blessing, lawful beauty Chen Ning's blessing, transcending race communication by San Yang's blessing, fulfilling by San Yang's wish, repaying Liang. He was very familiar with peerless martial arts. Ning Shu, the reward this time was really rich. The ability to communicate with animals was not bad. Although there were limitations, such as not being able to communicate with the single-celled organism Paramecium, Huiji's intelligence was lower. However, Ning Shu was very happy. After all, it was still a skill. 8 million points and 80 attribute points. This was unprecedented. It seemed that Bai San Yang was satisfied with this mission. Ning Shu happily distributed the attribute points. Number 2333. Name Ning Shu. Advanced Mission Taker. Age 27 points, 46. 158 million soul, 340 health, 12110 wisdom, 35410 charm, 4010 luck, 21910 spiritual power, 25010 faith, 155152000 martial power, 37220 aptitude, 13910 merit, 13410 skills. 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate combat technique, exceptional martial arts proficiency, intermediate poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skill, beginner ghost catching skill. Honorary titles, goddess of war, selfless ancestor items, calm aura, calming pill, faith aura, amulet 4, upgraded amulet 2 aura, mother of the world queen's blessing, model worker sister Qin Shi's blessing, leader aura grass blessing, lifelong friend Miao Miao Miao's blessing, savior Zhu Sun Yang's blessing, founding heroine Chen Ermiai's blessing, justice beauty Chen Ning's blessing, transcending race communication skill proficiency by San Yang's blessing. Note: can only communicate with animals within a certain range of intelligence. Bai San Yang asked me to thank you, 2333 said. You didn't let her and Liang form a relationship. The path of cultivation was very difficult, and there were many obstacles. A little carelessness could lead to death. A snake has a snake's path, a mouse has a mouse's path. Humans and demons have different paths, and they cannot be forced together. Ning Shu made an sound. As expected, giving herself to him was bullshit. Compensating someone was considered repaying a debt of gratitude? Ning Shu asked 2333, is there anything you fixed? The channel to the virtual space has been fixed. Ning Shu's heart leaped with joy. Was it finally fixed? Then I'll go take a look at the virtual space. Ning Shu stood at the entrance of the channel to the virtual space. After a moment of weightlessness, Ning Shu stood on a quaint green stone slab. There were mission enforcers coming and going around. Ning Shu waved his arm and went to the shop to exchange for some fasting pills. Because the system exchange mall was broken, he could only exchange here. However, fasting pills were not valuable, and many shops did not have them. Ning Shu also went to a few shops and finally bought them at a small shop. Ning Shu exchanged for a lot of fasting pills, then spent some points to buy a sofa, a bookshelf, a bed, and some miscellaneous books from a small stall. There were all kinds of books, legends about the system space, or some of the mission enforcers' legends. There were also some secret books and romance novels mixed in. He exchanged for a few small potted plants to decorate. Ning Shu felt that she was a very sentimental and poetic woman, but she was not. She really could not get used to the empty system space. With these things, the system space did not look monotonous. After a shopping spree, Ning Shu planned to go to a restaurant to eat something delicious. It felt like she had not eaten in a long time. As a soul, no matter how much she ate, she would not get fat, and it also had the effect of strengthening the soul. Chapter 12:12. The only way to solve his problems was to get rich quickly. If he couldn't get rich quickly, he could eat and drink too much. Ning Shu went to the restaurant and ordered a table full of dishes. As he ate, he perked up his ears to listen to the conversations around him. He listened to the gossip. Ning Shu was eating when someone sat opposite him. Ning Shu saw that it was Mei Ziqing. Ning Shu felt that he hadn't seen her in a long time. "What are you doing?" You didn't reply to my messages. It's like you disappeared, Mei Ziqing said. I thought you were killed. Ning Shu swallowed the food in his mouth and wiped his hands. There's a problem with my system space. The chat system is broken. Why are you looking for me? No wonder. It's nothing much. Didn't I borrow 100 points of faith from you last time? I'll return it to you. Mei Ziqing waved at the waiter and ordered a pot of tea. There's no need to rush, Ning Shu said to Mei Ziqing. Order whatever you like. No need. Mei Ziqing took a sip of tea and transferred 110 points of faith to Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at it. Why did you transfer an extra 10 points? Consider it as interest, Mei Ziqing said. Ning Shu didn't take the 10 points of faith and returned it to Mei Ziqing. You don't have to be so polite. We're friends. Mei Ziqing smiled and took a sip of tea. Hurry up and become a super mission enforcer. Go to the space above. That space has more resources than this space. The space that Mei Ziqing was in was of a higher level than the virtual space. Ning Shu nodded. I'm working on it. It's just a little difficult. Ning Shu didn't know when he could become a super mission enforcer. Ning Shu didn't have a strong desire to become a super mission enforcer. Without a world of his own, even if he became a super mission enforcer, he would be killed easily. As long as he built his own world, even if he didn't become a super mission enforcer, he could control his own destiny. Level didn't represent strength. Ning Shu was hoping to find the world's origin. Currently, there was only the wood element. There were still a few worlds' origins that he hadn't found. Ning Shu felt that he had a long way to go. Mei Ziqing chatted with Ning Shu for a while and then left after checking the time. Ning Shu watched as Mei Ziqing left. After finishing the food on the table, he strolled leisurely on the streets. Ning Shu bought some things from some stalls to decorate the system space. After returning to the system space, Ning Shu looked at the greatly changed system space and was in a good mood. Ning Shu took out the peerless martial art. The moment he opened it, he smelled a very fresh fragrance of grass and wood. It was filled with vitality. The wood element world's origin lotus swayed slightly. One day, she would be able to gather the origin of all the worlds and construct her own world. There would be an endless stream of faith power. Ning Shu pulled out a book from the bookshelf and sat on the sofa to read. As he read, Ning Shu's expression changed. This book was about the love and hate entanglements of a pair of mission enforcers. The entanglements were simply torturous. Later on, they even destroyed a plane. Not only did they destroy one plane, they also entangled themselves in another plane. Ning Shu? Ning Shu closed the book and opened it again. He felt that the way he opened the book was wrong. Mission enforcers were also humans. They had love and hate entanglements and emotions. He didn't know if this story was true or not. Ning Shu threw the book into the trash can. It was fine that he saw something like this in a mission, but why did he see something like this in the system space? Sure enough, it was not reliable to spend some points to buy a big bundle of books from a stall. Ning Shu picked up another book. After reading it, he asked 2333, "Can I see the client now?" "No, you can't. Wait until the black hole of the two pearls disappears. Don't get too close to the black hole. If you get sucked in, I can't save you," 2333 said. Ning Shu, "Then I'll enter the mission," Ning Shu said. Ning Shu felt dizzy. His body fused into another body. He heard banging sounds. When he opened his eyes, it was pitch black in front of him. He could faintly hear someone chanting outside, but Ning Shu couldn't understand a single word. His lungs were burning. He was suffocating. It felt like his lungs were going to explode. Oxygen. Ning Shu reached out and touched the side. He was locked in a small space. There were banging sounds outside. It sounded like a coffin was being nailed. Buried alive? Ning Shu suddenly stopped moving. If he moved too much, he would use up the little oxygen in the coffin. Why did he encounter such a situation as soon as he arrived? Ning Shu held his breath. It felt like his lungs were being pricked by needles. Even his head was starting to become dizzy. Ning Shu recited the mantra of the ultimate martial arts in his heart. A thin layer of spirit energy flowed into Ning Shu's body. With spirit energy, Ning Shu finally felt less suffocated. As Ning Shu cultivated, he began to accept the plot. The original owner was called Lu Xiaoya. She was a girl who was almost 14 years old. She was staying here because Lu Xiaoya was going to get married. However, it was a ghost marriage. Usually, ghost marriages were done through ghost matchmakers. They matched the dead person's birth characters and date of death. There were also ghost marriages where the dead were matched with the living. Humans and ghosts had different paths, so the chosen living person had to die. Usually, it was a woman who was sacrificed in the marriage. There were no men who were sacrificed in the marriage. Lu Xiaoya's family was an ordinary family. They were poor people who dug for food in the fields. A local rich family wanted to arrange a ghost marriage for their son. Lu Xiaoya's parents didn't agree at first, but the family really didn't have enough money. Also, Lu Xiaoya was a little girl. She was sold to the rich family for 10 taels of silver. 10 taels of silver was a lot. Lu Xiaoya's family might not even be able to save 1 tael of silver in a year. Lu Xiaoya was taken to the rich family's house. She was washed clean, put on a wedding dress, and locked in a coffin. She was buried alive just like that. Ning Shu. He didn't know if it was because Lu Xiaoya's life wasn't meant to end, but the rich family's wife had a dream. She said that she dreamed of her son, and in her dream, her son said that he wouldn't let his wife die. For the time being, regardless of whether this was true or not, Lu Xiaoya had picked up a life and even became a young mistress. The price was to be a widow for the rest of her life. Compared to death, this kind of outcome should be slightly better. However, the situation was not like this. Lu Xiaoya felt that there was a ghost in the Li family. Sometimes, he would see a pair of pale hands with black and red fingernails suddenly reach out from under the blanket. Every time he slept, he felt as if 1,000 kilograms of rock was pressing down on his body, and he even heard someone calling him. Lu Xiaoya told the Li family that there was a ghost, but the Li family didn't believe her. Lu Xiaoya lived in fear every day. She was very haggard, and even her lips were pale. She looked absent-minded. That ghost said that she was his wife and that he was San Lang. The third son of the Li family was Lu Xiaoya's ghost husband. Lu Xiaoya was extremely afraid. She felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar every day. Chapter 12-13. Back then, Lu Xiaoya's parents sold her to the Li family without Lu Xiaoya's consent. Lu Xiaoya didn't have any room to object. Her parents said that since she was raised to this age, she should repay this family. Lu Xiaoya's parents also vaguely knew that this was not a good thing. If they really wanted to marry their daughter as a young mistress, there would be no lack of betrothal gifts and etiquette, but they would have to buy it with silver. The family was really poor, so they could only sell their daughter. Lu Xiaoya was brought to the Li family in a panic and began a nightmarish life. Although he didn't die, he had a ghost husband. Lu Xiaoya was afraid, very afraid. She wanted to escape, but she was caught by the Li family. Lu Xiaoya had run away too many times, and the Li family became impatient, directly locking Lu Xiaoya in the house. Then, Lu Xiaoya spent time with her ghost husband every day. The ghost husband's face was pale, and his eyes were dark. He wore the clothes he wore when he was buried, and he walked as if he was floating. The key was that only Lu Xiaoya could see it, and no one else could. For some reason, Lu Xiaoya's stomach swelled up like a balloon. The Li family concluded that Lu Xiaoya was a thief. Then they drowned Lu Xiaoya in the pond. Lu Xiaoya died just like that. After Ning Shu accepted the plot, he was still in a daze for a long time. This plot really caught Ning Shu off guard, and then the family of 3 happily became ghosts? Lu Xiaoya's wish was to get rid of Li San Lang. She was really afraid of Li San Lang and wanted to leave the Li family. Ning Shu held his breath until his heart hurt. He couldn't help but take a deep breath and cultivate non-stop. From the beginning to the end, Lu Xiaoya didn't have any room to resist. She was sold by her parents like a commodity, and when she arrived at the Li family, she was first frightened by her ghost husband, and then she was invaded into a pig cage. Lu Xiaoya couldn't resist or escape. To Lu Xiaoya's parents, a daughter could be exchanged for a huge sum of money. It was worth it. To the Li family, Lu Xiaoya was bought by them, and they had the right to control Lu Xiaoya. No one cared about Lu Xiaoya's feelings. They didn't care about what Lu Xiaoya thought. Lu Xiaoya was the epitome of thousands of feudal women. Lu Xiaoya, who went with the flow, had no way to control her own fate. Ning Shu closed his eyes and began cultivating. In any case, he wouldn't die. He was waiting for that damned Li Sanlang to visit his mother in her dreams. The coffin was sealed, so the spiritual qi outside could not enter. Ning Shu had to rely on this spiritual qi to maintain the basic physiological needs of his body. It was unknown how Lu Xiaoya had stayed in the coffin until now. She waited for death in the darkness, listening to the people outside chanting the funeral scriptures. The feeling in his heart was indescribable. Ning Shu entered the state of turtle breath, which reduced the amount of energy his body needed. Ning Shu didn't know how long he had been in the coffin when he heard the sound of someone opening the coffin and a woman's voice. Quickly get her out. San Lang said to let her live as San Lang's wife. It's been half a day. I reckon they're all dead. A male voice rang out. Open it and take a look. If he's really dead, bury him with San Lang. Light shone through his eyelids. Ning Shu's stiff body was carried out of the coffin. Wang Shi stared at Ning Shu. If he's dead, then put him back in the coffin. Ning Shu hurriedly opened his eyes weakly. His eyes couldn't adapt to the strong light, so he closed them again. He's still alive. Wang Shi raised her eyebrows and had someone carry Ning Shu into the room. Ning Shu took deep breaths, and his stiff body slowly softened. Wang Shi stood at the head of the bed and looked down at Ning Shu. San Lang said to not let you die. He wanted you to be the young madam of the Li family. Consider yourself lucky. From now on, you'll be a member of the Li family. You'll have to abide by the Li family's rules. You'll have to take care of your husband and children. You'll have to keep your chastity for San Lang. My San Lang is too soft-hearted. He won't let you die. Wang Shi's face was filled with nostalgia and sadness. Unfortunately, San Lang passed away early. Ning Shu was expressionless and didn't speak. Wang Shi still felt that this was a gift. But Lu Xiaoya would have to live in front of the memorial tablet for the rest of her life. 10 taels of silver. Ning Shu couldn't solve any of the problems that could be solved with money. Wang Shi rambled on about the Li family's rules for a while, then locked the door from the outside. After Wang Shi left, Ning Shu moved her body and sat cross-legged on the bed to begin cultivating. Since she wanted to get rid of San Lang, martial arts was essential. Because it was ancient times, spiritual energy was abundant. When Ning Shu used her peerless martial arts, spiritual energy flowed into her body. Her lungs, which had hurt from holding her breath before, didn't hurt anymore. Ning Shu sank into cultivation. When she woke up, the sky was dark. There was no light in the room, so it was dark. Ning Shu got off the bed. Suddenly, a pair of cold hands stretched out from under the bed and grabbed her ankles. The hands were incomparably cold, like ice cubes. Suddenly grabbing Ning Shu's ankles, Ning Shu was startled and her whole body shivered. In such a dark and quiet environment, suddenly having a pair of hands grab his ankles was a very hair-raising thing. No wonder Lu Xiaoya was so scared. Ning Shu felt a steady stream of cold energy spread from her ankles to her whole body. Ning Shu had peerless martial arts to protect her body, but she was so cold that her teeth were chattering. If it wasn't an ordinary person, the evil energy would have entered their body. The owner of this hand should be San Lang. Ning Shu calmed down and shook her ankles, trying to shake off the hand. But no matter how she shook, she couldn't shake it off. Ning Shu squatted down and tried to pry the hand away. Let go. Ning Shu coldly said. The cold hand was still coldly grabbing Ning Shu's ankles. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Ning Shu recited the exorcism spell and drew a talisman in the air. Then, she hit the cold hand with the talisman. The blue and white hand trembled and released Ning Shu's wrist. Then, it retracted back under the bed. Ning Shu lifted her red skirt and lifted her pants. Then, she saw fingerprints on her ankles. Blue and black fingerprints. Ning Shu walked to the door and wanted to open it. However, the door was locked. Ning Shu knocked on the door. The door made a loud sound. Ning Shu's dantian was filled with anger. Then she shouted, "I'm hungry, 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 hungry. What are you shouting for?" Wang Shi took out the key and opened the door. Behind her, there were a few maidservants. The maidservants went into the room and lit the candles. The room suddenly became bright. Wang Shi let the maidservants put the dishes on the table. There were 2 dishes and a bowl of rice. The dishes were not bad. There was shredded meat and vinegar cabbage. For Lu Xiaoya, who couldn't see meat all year round, this kind of food was very good. Very good. The Li family was a rich family. Naturally, they were very particular about their food. However, Lu Xiaoya still chose to run away. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.